Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Glad to see everyone here today. Since we last gathered, I participated in the City of Los Angeles annual celebration and tree planting event in honor of National and California Arbor Day, a day of climate and community action, celebrating trees and the critical environmental and public health services that they provide to Los Angeles. Local volunteers and LA residents planted 136 trees in and around Sylmar Park as part of the event, and residents were able to take home trees as well. Sylmar Park is one of, and Sylmar as a neighborhood, is one of two pilot neighborhoods receiving resources through LA's Urban Forest Equity Collective. Researchers have found that access to trees, nature, and green space impact wellness, blood pressure, cognitive function, even life expectancy. And they have also found that there are significant inequities in how parks and green space are distributed in Los Angeles. LADWP's partnership with City Plants continues to thrive, and we will be providing funding for about 53,000 additional trees to be planted throughout the city of Los Angeles through 2025. Over 5 million kilowatt hours of direct energy savings are achieved annually through shading by trees that LADWP has provided for residents and businesses in Los Angeles. These trees help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by over 4,000 metric tons annually, and last year customers saved over $1 million on their power bills from trees funded by LADWP. So I wanted to take a moment this morning to extend my gratitude to LADWP staff and to our partners at Public Works, LA San, CAL FIRE, and others who made this uplifting and impactful day possible. So today as we gather, we've just passed the spring equinox. It's one of the most beautiful times of year in Los Angeles. The Santa Monica Mountains are full of blooming ceanothus, thanks to the plentiful winter rains, and our resident and migrant birds are singing each morning. It's a time of transition of the seasons. Our board has also gone through quite a bit of transition in the past few weeks. So we want to take a moment today to acknowledge our departing commissioner, or board member, as well as welcome our newest board member. As you know, Vice President Nicole Neiman Brady recently departed the board. During her time of service, which began in 2019, she generously shared her expertise in energy and water operations, championed paid parental leave for eligible employees, and dedicated herself to supporting and prioritizing the LADWP customer. The latter was most often apparent behind the scenes in her work and efforts to support improving customer service, to reestablish the audit committee, which over the years has uncovered over $67 million in overpayments, billing errors, and fraudulent activity. She championed improving our governance, board structure, and operational effectiveness, including the establishment of a risk management strategy and the finance committee. Even the wildfire policy, which is on the agenda today and will save customers over $84 million per year in the future, was an effort that she directed be evaluated in the low-profile manner in which she operated. Neiman Brady also inspired many in the department as a working mother of 4 children, and she made clear in her final remarks at March 15th's meeting that was not the reason she left the board. As she pointed out, raising her 4 children is not a liability, but an accomplishment, and it inspired her public service. This is part of what made her the amazing role model that she is, and I wanted to acknowledge that as we start the final week of Women's History Month. On a personal note, I greatly appreciated Commissioner Neiman Brady's expertise, attention to detail, dedication to service, and mentorship, and I'm grateful for the time that we served together. We thank her for her contributions and steadfast commitment to our board, the department, and the greater Los Angeles community. As we say goodbye to one board member, we welcome another. On behalf of everyone at the department, I'd like to welcome our newest commissioner, Richard KATZ, whose reputation precedes him as a longstanding public leader in Los Angeles. Throughout my career in LA, when people learned my name, the first thing they always ask me is, are you related to Richard KATZ? So to set the record straight, the answer to that is no, no relation. But it's been great to finally meet Richard and to welcome him to the board.
Thank you.
Commissioner KATZ comes to us with a wealth of experience in public policy and government relations, in water, energy, and transportation. And he previously served in the California State Assembly for 16 years. During his time in the Assembly, he was one of 3 authors on the Mono Lake Settlement Bill, a historic bill. KATZ also worked with the Native American Rights Fund and other stakeholders to develop the law that governs the repatriation of remains, and he looks forward to supporting our Tribal Committee member, Commissioner MCGRAW, in the important work of tribal relations. Commissioner KATZ also served on the State Water Resources Control Board, and he was Governor Davis's senior advisor on energy and water, including renegotiating energy contracts. On behalf of our board, we welcome him and look forward to the work we will do together to shepherd the department during this time of transition. At the special board meeting on March 15th, Vice President Neiman Brady also welcomed our other new commissioner, WILMA Pinder, and shared her extensive background, but I would like to take a moment to echo her remarks and welcome Commissioner Pinder as well. She's hit the ground running already, bringing her decades of legal expertise to the board, having served the city as a civil litigator and trial attorney for 30 years, including 20 years in the unit that supported LADWP. We deeply value her insights. So welcome to Commissioners Pinder and KATZ. And with that, I'd like to open to any remarks from other commissioners before we move to the next item. Anyone want to add anything?
Yes, I'm not sure that I would like to add because you echoed some of my sentiments, and very much welcome Commissioner WILMA Pinder. We've had a couple of great interactions in the last couple of weeks, and we're able to join the commissioners meeting at City Hall this past week with where the mayor brought together all the commissions and the leadership within City Hall. That really we are working with and for. So it was a very good meeting, and really I think we were all very moved and inspired by the words that everybody had, and the encouragement they gave us to participate in city making. And so thank you and welcome, Mr. KATZ and Ms. Pinder, and yay for Women's History Month and all the amazing leadership and staff and all the engineers and within the department that are part of the women's groups, and who we see operate very effectively, and we're very proud of being part of this organization by virtue of how the commitment that all of you as professionals within the department have. So, and I always say that, how is it at DWP? And I say, it's amazing. People are just so committed to what this organization is about, and so well prepared and so professional. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Commissioner LEHRER. Anyone else? Okay, well then I started with
say how nice it is to just be a big family
have a
up
full
here.
board.
Have
yes,
a full house.
Definitely. I started with B when I should have started with A, which is roll call. So if we could take the roll now that we've welcomed our two new commissioners.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. As a point of formality, today is the regular meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, March 26th, and this proceeding is being broadcast on Channel 35. Board of Water and Power Commissioners, please say present for roll call. Commissioner NURIT KATZ.
Present.
Commissioner Richard KATZ.
Present.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Present.
Commissioner McGraw.
Present.
Commissioner Pinder.
Present.
5 board members, a quorum is present. Madam Commissioner.
Thank you. So our next item on the agenda today, now that we do have a full board again, is to elect officers. I would like to open, following the remarks I just made on the extensive background that Commissioner KATZ brings to the board, by nominating him to serve as our president.
Thank you.
And I would second that.
Thank you. Can we take a vote?
Commissioner NURIT KATZ.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard KATZ.
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Aye.
Maybe.
I'm worried if you said no.
Commissioner
Thank you for
McGraw.
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder.
Aye.
Unanimously with 5 votes, motion is adopted.
Thank you very much. And then, as is tradition, I would like to turn to our new president. Congratulations and condolences. And no, thank you for stepping up. It is a big role, and we really appreciate your leadership. But I'd like to turn to you for the nomination of vice president who will serve with you.
I appreciate that, and I would like to nominate George McGraw as vice chair. whatever we're calling it,
Thank you.
Vice President of the Commission.
I will second that nomination.
Thank you.
Commissioner NURIT KATZ,
Aye.
President Richard KATZ,
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER,
Aye.
Commissioner McGraw,
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder.
Aye.
5 ayes unanimously, motion adopted.
All right. It is wonderful to have officers again, and I must say I'm relieved that now your title is President KATZ, so there won't be confusion when we say Commissioner KATZ. All right. So the next item is public comment, and I think we do have one speaker today.
Yes, we do. Public comment is now open. Public commenters, please be mindful that you have 2 minutes to speak. The speaker that will come forward is Julia Dowell.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Julia Dowell. I'm a senior field organizer with the Sierra Club. On behalf of the Sierra Club, I would like to express support for item 15, the motion on biodiversity, access to nature, and nature-based solutions. As you know, we are in the midst of a climate crisis, and with that, a great loss of biodiversity of species. As LADWP works to combat climate change, it is imperative that these efforts include robust scientific data on biodiversity and local threatened and endangered species. California has already lost 20% of its native species, and over 600 species in California today are at risk of extinction. One of the most effective ways we can address climate change and protect species is through nature-based solutions, which focus on preserving and recreating natural features, which will in turn help foster biodiversity and healthy ecosystems. So we enthusiastically support LADWP's goal of an equitable transition to 100% clean energy by 2035, and it is vital that LADWP collaborate closely with the original stewards of this land, local indigenous tribes, to learn about and incorporate traditional ecological knowledge into nature-based solutions implemented by the department. We urge you to support item 15 and to do everything in your power to protect the natural lands within LADWP's jurisdiction and to enhance equity and access to nature for all Angelenos. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time to be here in person and share that perspective. So on behalf of Commissioner LEHRER and myself, who are bringing forward this motion from the ad hoc committee on biodiversity, access to nature, and nature-based solutions, thank you very much for your time today.
Public comment is now closed.
All right.
I'm sorry, one moment. I'm sorry,
we have
we have
another
a
public
speaker. Would you like to speak in general public comment? Yes, I would. And are you Connor?
I am.
Okay, please
Thank
do
you
so.
very
Thank you.
Connor Roberts. Well, mostly for myself, but also for the Environmental Justice Coalition for Water and the statewide Environmental Water Caucus that I'm still the facilitator for.
Sir, you can just stand up.
We'll hear you.
It will?
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah, just relax and stand
It won't
up.
go any higher for me.
Thank you.
All right. Anyway, first I would want to say thank you and goodbye to Marty, and hello to a very changed in a relatively short period of time that I've been going here for a long time commission, but especially to my old friend Richard KATZ. Congratulations. I just saw you at the Mono Lake event, and here we are again. I'm really here today also, though, to thank you're going to have to change your email. I think you guys are going to need initials now on your emails. But to thank Commissioner KATZ and LEHRER for the biodiversity motion. I am, and our organizations are in complete favor of it. I'd also like to make a statement for Mono Lake in that connection to where your water comes from is so important, and they have taken youth from LA so people understand where their water comes from and done educational programs. And it's that partnership, including in conservation, as we talked about, is how do we get the community-based organizations that were really responsible for the city of LA in partnership with LADWP for keeping water demand flat and then down since 1978 with 1.4 million and counting. I don't know what we're up to now, ultra-low flow toilets. That program is now so long ago, we could do it again and re-engage the environmental and community-based organizations. for some economic development in areas that need it, especially with rates going up. It gives some rate relief as well. But it's important that you pass the biodiversity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming here in person.
Can I say one more thing? I just got married on Sunday to my wife, who Richard and some others might know, Susan Mumbus, who did what we met doing water conservation back in the 90s.
Congratulations.
It took us this long, but
Round of applause for that.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Festive around here today.
Public comment is now closed at this time.
Thank you very much. All right, and now, and what is really a highlight of this meeting, it is my honor to present to the General Manager and Chief Engineer, Martin L. Adams, the 40-year service pin. So, on behalf of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners, the employees of LADWP, and the citizens of our city, we are pleased to present this service pin to Martin L. Adams for his 4 decades of remarkable and a very impactful career. Marty first came to LADWP as an entry-level drafting aide in 1981 and as a student engineer in 1982. He then became a civil engineering assistant in 1984 and then progressed in responsibility within the water system, rising through the ranks as waterworks engineer, managing water utility engineer, and then director of water operations, and eventually senior assistant general manager of the water system in March of 2014. In 2016, Marty became Chief Operating Officer, both managing water and power systems, and then General Manager and Chief Engineer in 2019. Marty's long and esteemed career has had countless highlights, and we really cannot capture it all, but among them are playing a major role in helping restore water service during the 1994 earthquake. That was the Northridge quake. Planning and implementing the more than 2 decades-long $2 billion water quality improvement program to meet the surface water treatment rules and disinfection byproducts rules, spearheading LADWP's creative and innovative methods and projects to comply with these rules, including submerging a major pipeline underwater to bypass Lower Stone Canyon Reservoir, developing the Headworks Reservoir Complex to replace Silver Lake and Ivanhoe reservoirs, the completion of 2 ultraviolet disinfection plants, and the deployment of 96 million shade balls on the surface of the Los Angeles Reservoir. He also led efforts to transform Owens Lake into an internationally recognized migratory bird sanctuary while recognizing the deep tribal connections to the land in and around the lake, and also virtually eliminating the air pollution in the Owens Lake planning area. Leading the charge to establish green hydrogen as a key resource for creating a 100% clean and reliable power grid for the future, and launching the Intermountain Power Project Renewed, overseeing the completion of the historic LA 100 renewable energy study, and leading the department's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. No small thing to step into a leadership role right before a global pandemic and major, upheaval that the department was experiencing, making sure that our critical life services continued and keeping our workforce safe. I also learned during an award that Marty received recently that he used to don a costume as Captain Hydro to promote water efficiency. So he's really worn many hats at the department and even a cape. He's accomplished so much and is ready to enjoy the fruits of his labor in retirement. But he also most graciously agreed to postpone his much-awaited retirement to see the department through this period of transition as the mayor completes the selection process for the next general manager. We're grateful for his generosity in time and expertise. Throughout his time with LADWP, Marty has exemplified commitment, creativity, and camaraderie. His unwavering dedication has not only shaped the trajectory of our organization, but has also positively impacted countless lives in the communities that we serve. Marty, during your time at LADWP, you have witnessed unprecedented growth, innovation, and sustainability initiatives that have set new benchmarks for LADWP and the industry. Personally, I am so grateful to have been able to serve on this board during your last years here at DWP and learn from your wealth of expertise about the city and the department. On behalf of the entire organization, I extend our deepest gratitude to you for your exceptional leadership, unwavering dedication, and profound impact. Congratulations on this remarkable milestone, and thank you for 40 years of service excellence. I am pleased to present to you, if you want to, where should we go for the pin? Over here? Okay, if you want to come over to the seal, I will actually put the pin on you. So I'm pleased to present this 40-year service.
We have a Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you move that chair a little more?
Let's get the chair out of the way.
Every day you do this.
No, gotta capture it right. I hope my picture's not in the way. And it's really beautiful. Yeah. 40 whole years for a thing like this. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
I know.
Before we continue, I wanted to see if other commissioners want to add anything, and congratulations to Marty.
Well, I'm just meeting him recently, and I was very pleased that he gave me time, and he's made himself available to stay a little longer. It's nice to chat, of course, about DWP, but it's also nice to know about someone's family and the things that they hold dear to them. And in this short time, I appreciate getting to know you. And for the time you're here, I hope it'll be a little more. Thank you.
I feel like I know you for as long as you've been here, sort of, yes. Even though that dates us, but it's always your good nature and your leadership, positive energy, and always making time to sort of help people understand, people that we're all trying to deal with at all times, whether it's in different cities or agencies, at different, departments, helping us all, us in professionals who've been working I came from the tropics, so, and ending up in this zone, it was kind of a big difference, in my life. But then understanding it and being able to really absorb some of the findings and some of the reports, and then, of course, that were, being produced by the department. And then there was basically Save the Drop campaign. Did you ever wear that outfit?
I never had to, thank you.
But anyway, thank you for actually your camaraderie and your leadership, and I don't think it's over. It's not over till it's over, and I'm sure we'll be in touch, since there's national and international organizations that we all are associated with, and sometimes the power goes off in Los Angeles. Okay, thank you.
The City of LA power trying to say we're sad that Marty's leaving.
Yeah, God is weighing in. Marty, it is absolutely rare to meet someone as intelligent and as strategic in a package as affable and kind. And to have had the opportunity, and to still have the opportunity, over the next few weeks to learn from you and to have a lot of fun doing it has been one of the great gifts of my career. Thank you for all your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, the recording's not. Okay. We're going to pause for a moment while the system resets to make sure that this meeting is fully recorded.
If anyone wants to make comments about Marty off the record.
I know. Now's your chance.
Now's the time.
We will begin momentarily. Would you please maintain silence in the audience and at the dais? We will begin in approximately 20 seconds. Thank you. Madam Commissioner, whenever you're ready.
Okay, we are ready. We will reconvene this meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. And we are at the reports and briefings by the General Manager. You're ready.
I'm ready, yes.
Okay.
To do what you're up to. Thank you very much. And first of all, I want to thank you all for the very nice comments. 40 years is a long time, but it seems to have gone by really quickly. It is true. I mean, not only I put on the cape, but I've, in different hats, had to put on a couple different wigs too, but it's proof that you can wear tights and a cape to City Hall as a young engineer and still not kill your career. So.
All day without hearing that. You know?
The word is pictures is worse. So, but again, thank you very much. And it's been an honor to be able to serve the people of LA and work for this department for all this time, and I appreciate it. And as I come to a conclusion, helping to make sure the next general manager gets off to a good start, and we'll be in great shape. So first of all, I would also like to pass my own greetings to Commissioner KATZ. I had a chance last Friday was it last Friday or a week ago Friday?
Friday.
It seems like time's going by so fast.
It's been a long week,
Commissioner
yeah.
Pinder, and had really enjoy her company and being on the board. I'll miss that. And Commissioner KATZ, or President KATZ, we've known each other for a long time, and so it's great to see you on this board. I know that you'll be a great addition, and you certainly get to, as you probably are finding out, you know more people here, more things you've been involved with than you ever imagined. But you'll.
Some of them haven't gotten over it yet.
Yeah, but I appreciate you stepping up and taking on this role. So that's wonderful. It's good for the department. So first, I'd like to talk about a couple of water system updates. Water distribution had its 12th annual tap off at Silmar West Training Center in the end of February. We talked about this at the last meeting, and someone's got a video to show. We'll talk about it a little bit, but it really shows the skills of our utility workers and how they kind of demonstrating what they do in a competitive nature. Somebody like the Lineman's Rodeo in the water world, there's a similar tap off, and then teams actually go and compete nationally in that as well. So I will turn it over to Anselmo to talk about that as well, and then he can give us an update on where we are with our precipitation, which of course has changed a lot in the last several weeks and put us in much better shape for the year ahead. So Anselmo, go ahead.
Great, thank you, Marty. Good morning, Commissioners. Anselmo Collins, Water System. So on February 29th, the Water Distribution Division held the 2024 tap-off event. It's not only a competition, but it's also an emergency preparedness fair. This year, they had over 700 people attend. It's more than double what we typically get, so it's becoming a very popular event. So the event consists of a variety of different competitions. The groups and the individuals who do the best move on to regional competitions that are done with other utilities. And eventually you make it to the annual competition that takes place at the American Water Works Association annual conference. As a matter of fact, right now, the water distribution team is up in San Francisco competing in a regional competition. So whoever does best there will move on. So the video that we have is a short compilation of what happened on the 29th. Like I said, it was well attended. We even have folks from the power system that attended as well. So the word's getting out, and I think you'll appreciate and enjoy the video.
Are we going to see a part of it today?
It's about to play.
It's about to start.
All right, thank you.
Hopefully. There we go.
Right here in the background, we have our 12th annual tap-off. safety fair going on here. We have various vendors here supplying different products that they have. This event has grown tremendously every year, and we just expect it to continue to grow and move forward as it's been. Some of the specific tasks that are being done here today is water tapping. So in the industry, when we install water mains, we have to reconnect the customer's property pipes. So what they're doing here is they're drilling into the existing new mains that they're putting in there, and they're connecting it to the copper services that feed the water services to the companies. Also, in the other challenges, which is called the meter challenge, the meters are what we register the usage of the water going through the customer's properties. And what they're doing is they're taking them apart eternally and putting them back together so everybody can see how they're running and how they function. After that, they put it on a table and they pressure test it for any kind of leaks. And for that, they'll get their time and their ranking on the score sheets. After this competition today, the first place heads to the regionals, and then based on what they perform there, they will hit to the nationals for the events.
All right. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. They do a great work, all these individuals. As you can see, you get quite wet too doing the competition. I promised my staff after I get trained, I'm going to try to do this, but I first need to be trained properly.
Someone's not buying that.
So as far as the water supply update, a couple of things I wanted to mention to the board. At every board meeting, I try to update you on what's going on the water supply perspective. As the general manager indicated, the situation has improved significantly from the beginning of the water year. The water year, by the way, starts in October. That's when we start the water year. So we had an atmospheric river that made landfall past weekend, and it was able to bump up our snow pack up in the Sierra Nevadas, the eastern Sierras. So right now we are at 93% of normal, and if we get no more snow for the rest of the year, by April 1st, which is the beginning of the runoff year, we'll be at 91%. However, we are expecting another atmospheric river to hit this weekend. So we are expecting some more. So we're starting to inch closer and closer to 100%, which is, I think, great news, because when the season first started, it was pretty dry. And then February came and we started seeing a lot more rain and snowpack. So very good from that perspective. So what does it mean for the rest of the state? As you know, the LA Aqueduct gets water from the Eastern Sierra. The State Water Project gets water from the Northern Sierras, and they too have seen a pretty significant increase. Northern Sierra is sitting at 150% for their snowpack. So they're doing pretty well as well. To the point that the Department of Water Resources for the state recently announced that the State Water Project allocation for its contractors will be 30%. So what does that mean to LA? As a member of the Metropolitan Water District, that means that MWD is going to be able to purchase approximately 600,000 acre feet. They have a total allocation of 2 million acre feet at a 30%. That's around 600,000. So they have quite a bit of water they can purchase from the State Water Project, which is very different than 2 years ago when there was not enough precipitation to even meet all the demands of its contractors. And locally also, just want to let you know, stormwater capture is very important to us. And because of all the storms we had recently, we've been able to capture already 76,000 acre feet. So this is water that's collected behind flood control dams and that fall directly in our spreading basins. We release it, it goes into our spreading basins, and it recharges the aquifer in the San Fernando Basin. So 76,000 acre feet. That's around 91%, almost 92% of our capacity on a normal year. So as you can see, we've had a pretty stellar last couple of months when it comes to water supply. And that's the conclusion of my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Anselmo. And I think it's important to remember that going into the beginning of this year, we were tied with the lowest year on record. So you know, every year is a question as to what happens, but we're seeing another kind of March miracle like we'd seen a number of years ago. I would like to let the board know that in the end of February, Mayor Bass and Council President Paul Krikorian honored city employees who had more than 45 years of service. There were probably 60-ish plus city employees who'd been with the city for more than 45 years. Half of those, 30 of them, were here from the Department of Water and Power, and they ranged in jobs from jobs in the field, entry-level jobs, water utility workers, electrical mechanics, to administrators and customer service reps. And so we're very grateful that we've had people with that kind of longevity who are here and continue to be not only productive employees, but also share their knowledge with so many new employees who they've seen come in over the years. But it was remarkable to see people in important city roles and day-to-day working roles with the city who've had more than 45 years experience. I think the longest employee was in the mid-50s years of experience, not from the department. I would like to turn over to Greg Reed to talk about Women's History Month. We know, as you know, we've been celebrating Women's History Month. Last meeting, I mentioned about the Women in Trades fair that we had, or summit that we had, and promised you a video. So I'll let Greg talk about some of the events that have been going on and present that video as well.
Thank you, Marty. And if I may, I also would like to just do a really quick acknowledgement in keeping with Commissioner Katz's comments about the spring equinox, which also signaled the celebration of Nowruz, which is the Persian New Year. And it's a tradition that is celebrated by 300 million people across the globe. And it's a traditional celebration for the Persian community. One facet of that celebration is the haft scene, which includes 7 dishes, which recognizes life, rebirth, health, happiness, prosperity, joy, peace, and beauty. And those dishes are sabze, samnu, seeb, sanjed, seer, samak, and sirke. And I just want to acknowledge one of our DWP managers, Amir Tabak, who worked with Council President Paul Krikorian to host a recognition ceremony in the council chambers, recognizing Nowruz on March 19th. So with that, I will now transition to our Women's in Trade Summit, which occurred on March 6th, which I can tell you it was a fantastic and impactful event. We had 160 of our women in skill trades present in the summit, and we had really impactful speakers from International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the International Vice President David Reeves, International Representative Tracy Prezzo. We also had Marcy Ombreski. And we also had panelist discussions with Chris Larson, Assistant Fire Chief of LAFD, and also Diane Lemon from IBEW, Director of Women Recruitment. So with that, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So let's show the video.
I'm so excited to be here. It is a wonderful opportunity to be at our first annual Women in Trade Summit, to see so many of our strong women here gathered and ready to pursue and be excited about career opportunities in our trades, skilled crafts, and so many wonderful career opportunities.
When I think about the next generation of women who may enter into the skill craft careers here at LADWP, I think about creating the kind of culture that we all can be proud of and hand to that next generation.
It's important to have this event, Women's in the Trade Summit, to show women that we can do this. We're not alone, and if you want to make a change in careers, you can do it.
I hope the next generation of women that come into the trades feel this network of support and know that there's a place for them here, and there's plenty of room for them to rise up in the ranks.
I hope to be back here next year when LADWP and Local 18 host the second annual Women in the Trades event, that we can't actually host it in this room because it's not large enough for the number of attendees.
So as you can see from the video, very impactful event. The breakout sessions that were conducted also were powerful. Talking with our colleagues over lunch and over the kind of the pre-event kind of networking, you can hear the stories that our Skillcraft women are able to share, and the importance of being able to connect with one another. So one thing that we're looking to do going forward is to continue to maintain a format where our Skillcraft women can come together and share information and maintain that connectedness on a regular basis between annual events. So with that, I also would like to maybe quickly touch on what we're doing today, also in keeping with our Women in Skillcraft, is we're hosting a nonprofit organization called Winter, Women in Non-Traditional Employment Roles, at our Main Street facility. They have a cohort of students that the nonprofit has brought forward to hear presentations from our operations divisions, and to also do some hands-on demonstrations in the Skillcraft at our Main Street facility. So another important component of our outreach to encourage women in trades. So thank you, Marty, for allowing me to present.
Thank you, Greg, and thanks for working to make that event such a great success. Last two things real quickly. Our public affairs group has been very busy. Our Intake magazine, which is the longtime publication that we put out describing events at the department, things that we're after in terms of projects and programs, people in particular roles, highlighting all sorts of developments and what's going on in water and power. It hit its 100-year anniversary. And so this started out as a small newsletter. It eventually became somewhat of a magazine-style program format. Had a little bit of a break in its history during the early part of COVID, and is back in a new format, fully online. And we've introduced the contact newsletter as part of this online content. And so, we always encourage people to go on. Employees used to get this mailed to their home. Now they can go online. It's at ladwp.com/intake. It's not proprietary to the department. We send it out to the public as well. It's a great source of information, great information and stories about what's happening here, things that are happening that pertain to our customers, our employees, our retirees, and so both internal and external audiences. And so I want to thank our public affairs group and the folks working on that. And now that been 100 years in the making, it's bigger and better than it's ever been before. And lastly, we mentioned just after the last board meeting, March 2nd, we had our Science Bowl here, Science Bowl 32. And we've been hosting it here at Water and Power for a long time. North Hollywood High School, no stranger to the Science Bowl, took first place again. The Science Bowl that we host is the official regional qualifying Science Bowl competition for the U.S. Department of Energy national competition. So anybody representing an LA Unified or this geographic area comes to our Science Bowl to compete. And of course, teams from here have often won the national championship. And I want to thank our employees who volunteer their time to put on that event. It takes a lot of people to make the Science Bowl happen every year, but it's something that our folks have taken seriously in terms of they're taking their their role in helping students in the LA area really look to achieve academic excellence and really support them in their endeavors. So we had a very successful Science Bowl, and we'll watch North Hollywood High hopefully take the national championship again, representing the LA area. And unless there's any questions, that's the conclusion of my report.
Thank you very much. As an LAUSD alum and particularly North Hollywood High School alum, I want to echo your congratulations. Go Huskies. And just also wanted to thank all of you for the report. On the stormwater side, it's really encouraging to hear that capture is increasing, and we look forward to future reports that have more detailed updates on the stormwater capture master plan. This is such a critical area. We also really greatly appreciate all the amazing work to support our women in trades. I think this is really critical for the department as we make sure that our workplace is inclusive of all of the talent out there. So really glad to hear about that, and also just wanted to acknowledge that incredible news about so many of our employees who have been serving over 45 years. That really shows the dedication of our workforce. So appreciate all of these informative reports, and we'll open to questions from other commissioners if you have any.
I don't have a question.
Or comments.
A comment, yeah. I also want to offer my congratulations. I met with a wonderful employee from the water system this morning, Tanya Jones-Howard, who was selected TIA Water Utility Leadership Fellow for the Center for Water Security and Cooperation in Washington, D.C. Wow. And it's just another great way for us to celebrate women in the trades and Women's History Month, to see, one of our best and brightest be included in this cohort of sort of rising stars from the utility sector across the country, who are getting together to talk about things like environmental issues, sustainability, low-income rate assistance programs, and I think, to have someone here, from DWP, the nation's largest municipal utility, included in that group is a real honor. So congratulations to Tanya, of course, most of all, but to all of you for the work she represents.
Thank you.
I just would like to echo what everybody's been saying. I participated in a wonderful day for the 33rd Annual HOPE event, and a Latina Day. It's amazing. It's, basically a full day at a lovely venue where you get together in groups. And one of the groups that I really found very interesting is one was the women who have been very successful economically, based on their involvement in particular businesses, how they were presenting and advocating for some of the next generation. And then beyond that, there was a group for youth. And so youth got to do workshops with women who have businesses and work in our sector to learn more and to make friends and connections, and all that was quite wonderful. One of the highlights for me was the fact that they were welcoming Julian Castro because he's becoming the Latino Community Foundation president. So Miguel Santana will have some competition, which is healthy. And we just hope that they will be looking at many of some of our projects in communities, but also, lifting up some of the next generation of women who participated in sort of becoming professionals, or also working in other sectors, of course. So it was a great event, and he was very inspiring. So funny that a Women's Day invites, but because it was a Latino-oriented sort of conference, I guess I can understand why they chose that. Maybe some Latina out there wasn't available. They had to do it at the last minute. How's that?
All right. Any other comments or questions for the general manager before we move on to comments from our ratepayer advocate? Okay, and I think we can move to item H. And Fred, the floor is yours.
One comment on the news about water supply. hydrologists speak in probabilities. So, and the hydrologist at DWP was saying, well, there's a 30% chance that we might make it. And I said, well, gee, what's the pari-mutuel odd? Is the betting going? He said, oh, no, we only have the morning line odds of 2 1/3 to 1. So it's a bit of a long shot, but we might make it.
We might make it.
On the topics at hand, we support passage of items 1, 6, 7, 10, 11, and 14. And you have a memo in front of you now, which was supposedly to be in your hands earlier, but events interceded. It's on item 9, and it's the suggestion about an addition to the resolution in that item or a separate resolution which would talk about use by the city of some of the UUT taxes we send them to be used back to DWP to support inflation adjustments, in essence, for the low income and lifeline credits that have not been adjusted since 2008, 2009. And that memo details that thought process. And finally, on item 5, there's the agreement between DWP and the Personnel Department. We've done these agreements before, and the performance in retrospect has been not at the level we've paid for them. So we're suggesting a performance audit after the first year to assess whether or not we were getting what we paid for.
Thank you. This memo is important, so I'm going to give us a moment here for everybody to read, and then feel free to ask our OPA if you have any questions on his comments.
Ask now or wait?
You can ask now if you have your questions while everyone's.
Dr. Pickle, can you explain a little bit more for me this $1.5 million request back from City Hall? Why hasn't that rate been adjusted for inflation? How difficult is it to adjust for inflation going forward? And what would that process look like?
The short answer is propositions 218 and 26.
Sure.
218 is a very strict standard, and the matter has been litigated and settled, and we lost our low income rate for water.
Right.
The Prop 26, which applies to power, has, well, one, I will ultimately defer to the city attorney on this, so I shouldn't be giving a legal opinion, but I will describe the process. Has a grandfathering approach where we've been able to retain that, and challenges have not been successful at this point, although there's a settlement on that that's in place.
So basically, if we open up that process, we might be opening up a can of worms that.
Commissioners, that's probably an item that we could talk about in closed session beyond what the ratepayer advocate is.
Yeah, we might need more information on that process before considering whether or not to include this in the resolution.
Certainly. What this does is it says, gee, we send essentially tax revenue back to the city. How about we take a small portion of that tax revenue, $1.5 million a year, increasing at the rate of $1.5 million a year to reflect an approximation of inflation, and use that tax revenue to support these adjustments. It's a way around the litigation in Prop 218 and 26 issues.
And you mentioned in your memo that, to your knowledge, has never been done before, that kind of request.
Not publicly.
Okay.
Council, do you welcome other questions on this memo, or is this memo really intended to be more for commissioners only and should be a closed session item due to the fact that there are litigation matters related to this?
It's a public memo. I mean, it's a public document. So I'm just saying, once the questions are posed, there's certain items that may be better addressed in the context of potential litigation.
Okay, thank you. So let's keep our questions to questions that do not relate to the litigation matters that would be closed session items. But any other questions? Yeah.
Mine's more a process question. If we don't act on this today, in terms of the suggestions, how do we get that into the record, given that we have to turn the budget in by the end of the week?
I think that you could revisit this in May, if you didn't, and I'll turn to the CFO, Ms.
This is the
Antilli.
preliminary budget for fiscal year '24. We'll be back in May with the final budget, and we could take direction from the board on that.
Thanks.
The reason we're submitting it now is the mayor is completing their budget to be issued by April 20th. If I got my dates, if I have my dates correct. And this is to make sure that discussion is open there. Certainly, they know the memos here.
Thank you, appreciate that. So just to be clear to our CFO, if we move forward with the items as structured, that does not preclude a future consideration of this?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for OPA?
I guess we just had a line in there that says more to come.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like there will be more discussion related to this. So for now, I'm going to move us on to items recommended for approval. Items 2, 5, 6, 9, 11, and 15 have been called special. So could I have a motion to approve items 1, 3, 4, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, and 14?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner KATZ,
Aye.
President Richard KATZ,
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER,
Aye.
Vice President McGraw,
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder,
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will move to management reports.
Okay, well, our first management report is the presentation of the preliminary budget for 2024-2025. And I will turn it over to Ann Santilli, our CFO, to introduce her team. And so I will tell you that we've prepared the budget in the presentation as much as we could in response to commissioner requests in the past. We've had everything from more numbers, less explanation, more explanation, less numbers, more both. I hope that what we present will be of benefit. If there's something that is not clear or lacking or you'd like to see in the final budget, we please very much welcome your comments and instructions for what you'd like to see, because the final budget will dictate our expenditures for the coming fiscal year. This has to be transmitted to the city by the end of the month, so this is a preliminary budget, a very good indicator, but it may not present everything and all the subject matters that you're interested in packaged in a way that's obvious, because budgeting is a complicated task as we route it through each contributing organization and each layer of management that includes everything from personnel to materials to equipment and all the things that we have to do line items for in the budget. And some of those things roll up in different ways in terms of subject matter. So there may be a different roll-up that you'd like to see to know how much money we're spending on a certain subject, maybe described as we're doing it, or maybe described slightly differently. So certainly your comments are very welcome. So with that, I'll turn over to Ann.
Thank you, Marty. And good afternoon. I have Marianne Ann's, our Director of Budget and Cost of Service, and Assistant Director Sunny Vietz, who's going to walk through the presentation. And we have some slides for water power joint to go into details.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Marianne Ann's, the Budget Director, and again, Sunny Vietz here to assist, been instrumental to prepare the presentation today. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to present the 24-25 preliminary budget for you today. Our preliminary budget has been created that is consistent with the department's corporate strategic plan, which is an attachment in the package in front of you today. It's also prepared in accordance with the current approved rates as well as the financial plans. And this is all in an effort to support our infrastructure investments, comply with regulatory mandates, and continue to provide our exemplary customer service. We are actively managing and strengthening the department's culture, safety culture. The budget maintains our financial metrics and preserves our low cost of borrowing, and we continue to work on growing our hiring and plan for our related space needs and improvements in this preliminary budget for you today. This overview provides the budget from a senior AGM contributing organizational perspective. I will highlight the key elements and the major contributors on this slide, and as we go through and progress through the presentation, I'll cover more of the project details and the cost elements that are drivers behind these dollars. With that, the current year estimate is proposed at $8,038 million, which is about 7% or over $600 million lower than the current year approved budget of $8.6 billion. And that is largely due to delayed contracts for various projects across the department. Now, on the other hand, the preliminary budget for 24-25 is currently proposed at $9,379 million, which is at about 8.5% increase compared to the current year approved budget and about 16.7% above the current year re-estimate. The main drivers of this increase, as you can see, is in the power system. They are contributing about 12.6% compared to the approved budget and almost 24% an increase compared to the re-estimate for power system. And the main drivers, and as you'll see in subsequent slides, is mainly due to contract spending, internal labor and incentives, and some acquisitions for land and structures. The water system is relatively at 4% growth compared to the approved and the re-estimate, and the main driver for that is the purchased water and some labor increases. The joint system is about 5.5% or so compared to the approved budget, and 13.3% increase compared to the re-estimate. And the main drivers for the joint system at a high level are labor, fleet purchases, healthcare costs, as well as bond redemption and interest. This next slide depicts our proposed annual personnel resolution, which is otherwise known as the APR, and it's currently proposed at 14,030 positions for 24-25. This is, as you can see, roughly over 2,600 positions higher than the January 2024 occupancy of 11,393 positions. Now, the department, as I mentioned earlier, is trying to grow our hiring, and we have reached our highest point of occupancy, as you can see, over the last 33 years. If you go back to 1990-91, our occupancy level was at 11,321. And also, I want to add that this is also the highest increase year over year, having grown over 393 positions compared to the last fiscal year. So we are making progress. We are trying to grow, and we continue to do that and try to achieve the higher levels that we have shown here today. Next slide. The proposed APR of 14,000 includes some increases, and those are shown in the first column. We're proposing about 317 new positions. Notable increases are for the water system, 227 positions, and the joint on a net basis is 90, if you see the joint system total. And that includes what we have for the general manager labor planning organization. You see a reduction of 68, and that's as a function of positions that are transferred to joint organizations based on operational needs and that are at the discretion of the general manager. With that, the COO is proposing 102 positions. 34 of those are for the facilities management JFB organization. 27 are for IT. 20 are for environmental affairs, and 20 other are for various other organizations that roll up to the COO. This chief financial officer is requesting 34 new positions. 27 of those are for the accounting and financial reporting organization, and the others are various, either one or two organizations for the other divisions rolling up to the financial services organization. You have 18 positions in the GM and other direct reports, 17 of which are for the employee relations and benefits division. Now, because the department will not be able to hire and fill up to our 14,000 positions come July 1st of 2024, we apply what's called a vacancy factor to minimize the impact on the labor budget, our rates, and smooth out the addition of new positions on our revenue requirement. Now, that said, when we compare our occupancy of 11,393 as of January to our funded positions of 12,134, we have approximately over 700 positions to fill over the next year, which equates to approximately a 6% vacancy factor across the department.
Do you anticipate any problems in filling those?
That actually is a function of the budget. We are earmarking in the next slide you see here about $2.9 billion in terms of funding. However, there are the hiring is a function of civil service exams available through the city, as well as management discretion as to which positions are for the upcoming projects.
Thank you.
Can I add that? So this becomes a really complicated issue that we'll have to, spend more time on, because it's always difficult to talk about the approved number of people versus the actual number of people and how we budget. Our rule of thumb has become that if we have positions that are vacant, we're allowed to fill them. The reality is in civil service, because we have to wait on tests, because we have holes in the organization that are like Swiss cheese and you have to fill them moving up, that you can never fill. You can never get everything full at once. That's just a practical reality. So we budget based on what we think history tells us we can actually achieve, although we don't limit ourselves to that or our managers to that. And one of the reasons, and one of the reasons we made success this last year is when we see that there's going to be vacancies, having more positions available will actually allow us, when there's a list available, to hire ahead. Because you may say there's a certain number of entry-level positions, knowing that that next level also has a promotional list coming up that's going to fill vacancies. Otherwise, we're always just, chasing ourselves, trying to keep up. So giving more positions allows us the flexibility to plan ahead better and actually make the kind of progress that you saw this last year.
When do you anticipate these positions actually coming online? Not when the money's available.
They'll be over the course of the year, so they won't all be July 1st. They'll be as the list is available, and then even that is just a process for interviewing and filling vacancies. That all those processes take 1 or 2 months at least.
So you anticipate within the year, because I hear nothing but horror stories in terms of departments in the city, police department being one in particular, but others as well, trying to fill vacancies or hire people. So,
and that's one of the challenges, and one of the items, I think it's item 5, one of the things that's come up about we do pay personnel for a few positions now to help focus on our hiring. Our plan has worked out, and Michael DeAndrea can address it when it comes up. It's not yet, but if you have questions on it, is to pay for more people that are dedicated to us with service guarantee that'll substantially reduce that cycle time so that we actually can see results.
Well, that was actually my question too, Marty. So obviously we have had one way of calculating these two deltas over the last 2 years between actual positions, funded positions, and APR positions. I do anticipate that if we get these 25 MOA positions and personnel, that process ideally will speed up. Have we adjusted the delta for how we think that's going to speed up in this current fiscal year? Are we waiting to see what the MOA does for us before we adjust? Because it could be that we get ahead of ourselves on what we funded.
We could, except even the city will have to do the process. They'll have to do the process of putting people in those positions too. So it'll be.
You mean the MOA positions that we're funding at first?
They'll have to spool up on their end as well.
Yeah.
And not every position, of course, is still limited by civil service lists. Part is to get tests given more frequently, get lists created quickly so we can actually exercise them. So it will be a process. I don't think we'll see this sudden jump at once. The second year we might see more of a jump, but it will be a process the first year. And we challenge managers, if you can fill more positions than we budgeted, try, because that's one of the things people said, I'm not allowed to hire. Well, that's not true. There's nothing restricting people from hiring any of their positions right now. But the reality shows us that we've never been able to spend more than this vacancy rate. We're constantly trying to challenge ourselves to do so. I would like to exceed this year.
Well, yeah, it seems structurally we might be able to with some of these changes, but
it may not be the first year.
Let's
I actually have some questions, but I'll wait for number 5.
Yeah, let's continue with the presentation, and we'll be sure to.
Okay, thank you. So on this slide, we're showing the preliminary labor funding for 24-25, which is proposed at $2,934 million, and that's comprised of regular labor of $1,718 million, overtime of $344 million, and benefits of over $870 million, which includes retirement, disability, death benefit, as well as healthcare costs. And just to note, this proposed budget is about $155 million higher than the current year approved budget. And it's $103 million higher in terms of regular labor, about $27 million higher than in overtime, and as well as $25 million higher in benefits. The next slide, this includes the $2.9 billion proposed budget that I showed on the earlier slide includes about $62 million in hiring exempt substitute positions. And these are for hiring above the APR, above the budgeted positions. These are what's called substitute positions, and this is for flexibility to meet our operational needs. The table to the right is just a snapshot as of February the 2nd of this year, where we are showing that we've occupied over 600 positions in exempt, including UPCT substitute positions. And this is just to illustrate that Power System can hire additional staff, exempt staff, to supplement their internal workforce. Now, the Power Systems proposed budget for 24-25 is $4,337.7 million, which is approximately 13% higher than the current year approved, or over $480 million. And the main drivers of this proposed increase, as you can see in the line, is contracts, representing about 41%. That's over $360 million. And as you can see, the re-estimate is down to 554. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a function of the ability to spend the contracts as well as the projects. So things were shifted from the current year to the next year. The next driver is labor and regular and overtime, roughly 7% over, about $64 million. Now keep in mind, Power System did not request any new positions for this next year. However, this is largely due to swapping of positions as well as transfers among the divisions within Power System, which have varying vacancy factors, which impacts the funding. The other item, notable item, is the other directs, incentives, and fees of $185 million. That's a $25 million increase, roughly $37 million. And I just want to note that this budget here for incentives contributes directly, a majority of it, to the customer-facing customer benefits program that I'll walk you through in a few slides later on, which is for electric transportation, energy efficiency, and solar incentives. And the last item is for land and structures, about $24 million that I'll walk you through in the next slide, which provides some of the further breakdown in key areas that are driving Power's increases, notably contract spending. You see $362 million increase projected from the approved budget of the current year, largely for the transmission. This is for the renewable portfolio standard. We have long-term transmission projects, the McCullough-Victorville lines 1 and 2 for the series compensation and the line retrofit, including the upgrade of the Tarzana Olympic 138 to 230 kV line. That totals $154 million in totality. We also have about $59 million for generation infrastructure. This is the Haynes Generation Station additions and betterments. We also have proposed about $47 million in increased spending in the Power System Reliability Program we call the PSRP and distribution. And that's for operation and maintenance for vegetation management program, as well as the maintenance of the underground and overhead distribution system. The last notable increase is about $50 million in the PSRP transmission capital spending. This is the upgrade of the Rinaldi-Tarzana lines 1 and 2. The other main component is, as I mentioned earlier, the incentives. We are increasing about 25%. $21 million is for the solar incentive payments, and that relates to the feed-in tariff carport and canopy incentive program. as well as $15.5 million increase in the electric transportation incentives and rebates as well. The last item for land and structures, the proposed budget is about $24 million, and this is to support the real estate acquisitions and environmental assessments that may be required to install new devices to expand the distribution system capacity. This is for electrification, relieving overloads, as well as improving reliability and resilience, as well as enhancing our power quality. Power Systems fuel and purchase power budget for 24-25 is proposed at $1,605 million, and this supports a 52.1% RPS target. Now, as you can see here from the chart, the largest key component of the fuel and purchase power is the renewables, which is the green bar, proposed at $779 million, and that's about 9% or $65 million higher than the current year approved budget for 23-24. The 23-24 re-estimated budget is proposed at $1,585 million, and that supports a RPS target of 48.1%.
Can you explain on this chart why the amount, is the dollar amount of coal and nuclear increasing related to a volume increase or just a cost increase associated with those purchases?
From 297 to 309.
Yeah, this might be a question for power. It's not that we're buying more coal, it's that the cost is going up.
The cost has gone up.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
It's the fuel cost and the O&M cost for both nuclear and the coal plants.
Thank you.
Has our customer base changed at all?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Customer base, has it shrunk, expanded?
Our customer base?
Yeah.
As far as the fuel and purchase power, or in terms?
Well, I assume we're purchasing fuel and power to service our customer base. So my question is, has the customer base expanded or contracted over the last year?
I think the customer base is relatively flat, but in our sales projection for the current year, we have 21,459 gigawatt hours, and for our preliminary budget is 21,574 gigawatt hours.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And how does that compare to historical?
It's decreasing because of energy efficiency, solar behind the meter, and other things like that.
But it's not decreasing because there are fewer businesses or homes or et cetera.
Our customer base is pretty stable. The number of residential customers, commercial, industrial.
And it's interesting to hear that efficiency is great enough to offset some of the increase in electrification. So I appreciate that note.
And if I could on that, it's an important point for the board to, I won't be here to consider, but for everyone else to consider as we move forward in these investments. A lot of the investments in the future are the idea that you pay for by increased electrical sales, because otherwise you have a certain amount of money you have to collect. If you sell more, if you spend more, you have to then sell more, then you can offset a change in the rates. Otherwise, those costs have to be spread amongst less units that you're selling. The challenge is that energy efficiency is so good and now that it's really kind of like water efficiency is really driven down water use. Energy efficiency has basically levelized power use and going down somewhat. And so we know that as vehicles electrify, transportation, building stock does, that will see an increase in growth. The question is, when will that happen? And looking at the investments that have to be made to prepare for that, but also not getting so far out ahead that the demand doesn't grow with it to where you have a huge impact on current rates. And so watching the power sales is an important thing to keep an eye on, but it does show that efficiency does work.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. And I know CD5 has requested an updated pathways analysis for LA 100, which hopefully will include updating all of those projections. So apologies for the interruption. Please do continue with the slides.
One further comment. This is a big debate in the industry. And if you look at the most electrified nation in the world, as far as I know, is Norway, with substantial additions of electric vehicles. The incremental purchases are 80 to 90% EVs. And their growth rate is still 2% per year. in spite of being a very low-cost location. If you want to put your aluminum plant someplace, it's one of the places.
Can I ask one more quick question on this, on the renewable portfolio standard, because I think I missed it. The percentage of RPS in the power mix that's attributable to the actuals for FY 22 to 23 and the proposed growth 24, 25, or sorry, 23, 24, and the proposed 24, 25, what, do you know the delta that represents in our RPS?
That also might be a power question.
That 22, 23 was about 35% RPS. Currently, the unaudited percentage right now is about 42%. We will make a presentation here at the end of April to demonstrate the real amount, but we're around 42% right now.
But percentage-wise, there's some cost savings there too then, because.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, great, thank you.
One last thing, I'm sorry, on that. Have we seen any effect from the work from home movement in terms of power consumption?
Yes, we have. Because employees are not coming into the buildings in downtown LA, their usage is going down.
And how does that factor into what we're purchasing and?
We have, and another slide will show our total sales forecast. So that's shared within the department, and that's what we plan for. So it is going up a little bit compared to how we re-estimated this fiscal year, but we started out higher. And as we look at the trend, we see that, people coming into the office maybe 2 days a week or something is impacting.
Is there a percentage of reduction that we can measure?
I can get you that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
One of the places that has made a change is that people were not using as much electricity themselves before because they went to work. And so you do see a shift in business expense on electricity versus consumers. So people say, my bill is so high. Well, you're home all day long using your computer and that sort of thing, which drives your personal bill higher when before you wouldn't be spending that. So there's been a shift in who's paying that money.
Right.
And I think water saw that a little bit even clearer.
I would imagine, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next slide.
All right. The following slide summarizes the proposed budgets for various programs that benefit our customers, and those include the energy efficiency. We're proposing $201 million for 24-25, and included in that is largely $170 million for various energy efficiency programs, $15 million for the Home Energy Improvement Program, $14 million for the LAUSD energy efficiency measures, and then $4 million for the commercial direct install. We have electric transportation proposed at $134 million. $125 of that is for operation and maintenance for the various GHG and LCFS funded programs, as well as $9 million for capital infrastructure and charging station investments for the upcoming year. The Power System Incentive Program is proposed at $53 million. Included in that is $31 million for the Demand Response Program and $22 million for the solar incentives that I mentioned earlier for the feed-in tariff, carport, and canopy incentives. Lastly, we have proposed $32 million for water conservation and $4 million earmarked for the Emission Reduction Grant Program. With that, now I'd like to turn it over to the power system to cover their key upcoming strategic investments in the next several slides. Simon?
Thank you, Marianne. Good morning, commissioners. Simon Zodu for Power System. I would like to continue on and provide some highlights on some of our key investments that we need in the next program year to maintain the reliability of the system, specifically on power supply on our generating stations. Generating stations operations need a significant amount of investment to make sure that we maintain the same level of reliability, especially our hydro plants who have served us for more than 80 years, and including the Castaic pumped hydro plant, which is the largest energy storage battery in Western United States. And it's a crown jewel for power system in the city of Los Angeles. And we're planning to do quite a lot of improvement to that plant. Not to mention the regulatory compliance requirements, not to meet them, but to exceed those as well for physical security of our critical infrastructure, as well as adhering to evolving environmental regulations that our generating stations are subject to. So our operation and maintenance budget for generating stations is increasing. We believe that after 2 years of increasing that, it would taper off once our generating units are in good order. Next slide, please. Another area of high interest for our customers and LADWP is growing load growth within the distribution system. This is primarily due to the electrification of the transportation sector and the building stock. To address this, LADWP will be building what we're called EV hubs. These are electric vehicle filling stations or charging stations equipped with fast chargers, where our customers can go to these facilities, get a competitive price, have access to electric charging facilities. The majority of our residential customers, 65% of them, are renters. A lot of our multifamily home and renters do not have the ability to have an EV charger at their place of at their dwelling. As a result, the department will be a utility of proximity to make sure that that service is available to them. We believe that the EV revolution has started, and the department is actually making sure that we provide access to all our customers, as well as provide that service at a very affordable rate, close to what they're paying at home. So we will be starting this process in the beginning of 2020, the fiscal year 2024-2025. We have two major EV hubs, one in the Van Nuys area and another in South LA, planned for groundbreaking by Q4 of 2024. Next slide, please.
You already own the land and.
That's correct, yes.
This is really great to see that moving forward and fully budgeted. It's such a critical piece of our Powered by Equity initiatives and really important to increase access.
Yep.
So thank you for
Correct, and we will come back to the board to present our truck electrification plan. There's another area that would not only impact the electrification of that sector, but it will reduce really harmful air quality impacts on many communities within the city of Los Angeles.
Two other deployments on that, the e-hubs are not just fast charging, so it'll be maintained by the department, so it'll be fully available for reliability, accessibility. There's also going to be a microgrid system attached to that e-hub, so it'll have a battery storage for resiliency. And then the third item will be the communication infrastructure that we will put in there for Wi-Fi accessibility in that neighborhood. So three things we're going to achieve by having these centers all across the city.
Excellent. And then I think, as we discussed at a prior board meeting, you're also looking into collaborating with water on possible garden.
Absolutely, yes.
Increasing green space in these hubs.
That's correct.
Great.
Another area that I would like to highlight is our continued work on wildfire mitigation and system hardening to ensure that climate change and wildfire will not have a severe impact on the reliability of our system. As we all know, the frequency and intensity of wildfires over the past 7 years has significantly increased, and the department is increasing its investment on system hardening, on vegetation management, in making sure that we do the necessary inspection and maintenance on our facilities, and updating our protocols for operations. This is tied to the Power System Reliability Program. That's a flagship program we have at the power system that Marianne mentioned. We budget around $1.3 billion for Power System Reliability Program to maintain and upgrade our aging infrastructure, be it in generation, in transmission, substation, and distribution facilities. And that relates to making sure that we reduce what we call fix-it tickets, or these are inspection results that that are flagged for maintenance and repair throughout the city. We provide a quarterly report to the board on our efforts on those, and this is all tied to the power system reliability program. So we have a lot of work to do next year on maintaining reliability and including and improving the safety of our personnel as well as the city citizens.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question that's also a comment? I really appreciate, obviously, our relentless focus on reliability for our ratepayers, and I think I'm excited to see this stuff on EV hubs whenever it comes up. But what I didn't understand about this budget presentation, specifically this part when I was reading it in the board packet, is why we're not presenting any of these things in terms of transition. What are the budgetary investments we're making to reach our LA 100 goal? We're on the clock. Power isn't requesting any additional positions next year. Obviously, we can fill some positions with exempt. But everything is in this language of reliability, which is important, but we're also trying to transition this massive system. And I don't think we've done a very good job so far of calling out, where those investments are being made, why they're important, how they're contributing to us hitting that goal on time. And I think if we continue to, this feels very business as usual to me. And I think that if we don't continually change the frame when it comes to things like our budgeting process, we're failing to set that expectation for ourselves, for our employees, and for the citizens of the city. And I think people might start to wonder, how's it going? Is this happening?
Okay.
Can I help follow up with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
In the budget, we've seen a substantial change in the fuel purchasing, which is one of those steps. Another component of that is the hiring, building, especially electric distribution mechanics, formerly known as linemen, in terms of staffing to do the power reliability improvements. We're doing that, but it's a good idea that we should probably do a cross-cut across the various areas where those areas need to be built for stepping into the 2035 goals if we want to achieve them.
Yeah, thank you. And I think at a future meeting, it'd be helpful, we may have touched on this before, but to have an update in terms of the human resource planning and resource planning for LA 100 and where we are.
Correct.
It would probably warrant a more detailed presentation.
We'll do that. The power system has conducted and completed its integrated human resource plan, and that plan is integrated into our budget request. We are prioritizing filling vacancies instead of asking for new positions. And in the following years, we might be we'll be adding additional positions, but we'll make a presentation that ties to all the projects that are allocated for reaching 100%, as well as how our IHRP is blended into the whole mix. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be excellent. And I think something similar on the water side for our 70% goal would also be helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So water systems proposed budget for 24-25 is $1,096 million, which is roughly 4% higher than the current year's approved budget. Equates to $43 million in increased spending. And as you can see here in the table, the largest driver here is the purchased water, representing a 27% increase, $46 million, followed by labor between regular and overtime, about 5% or $17 million. And on the next slide, our purchased water trend depicts the spending over the last 9 years. And as you can see here, the actual expenditures is in the blue line, the approved budgets are in the red line, and then the green dashed is the proposed current year reestimate for 23-24 and the 24-25 preliminary budget proposal. So you can see here the last 2 years, the purchased water was trending down, and this is due to the experienced wet conditions, resulting in higher Los Angeles aqueduct flows and less purchased water. However, you see here the proposed of $215 million for next year. It's about, again, the 27% higher than the current year approved, and that's attributed to an assumed average year based on the 2023 hydrology with the 30-year medians and projected average demands. Now I'd like to turn it over to the water system, to Anselmo, to cover the key upcoming.
The commissioner's got a question.
Oh, sure.
And before you leave that, though, on this current year, in light of the what seems to be the continuing atmospheric river experiences, including this weekend, I guess. Should we expect to see that number come down based on the amount of water that's in the system now? The report we heard earlier, State Water Project, but also our supplies as well?
And this, just to note, and I'll probably defer to Anselmo to answer that, but just so everyone understands, the data for this preliminary budget is based on January 24. That's when we closed the system. So that's the forecast that the water system folks used as of the January data. And I'll turn it over to Anselmo to address for the final budget that we're working on in terms of the forecast and assumptions.
I appreciate it. I'm still learning who to ask what to. So forgive me just sort of stumbling in here.
She's doing a great job, so she can answer them all.
As we move to Anselmo, also, I noticed that there was a decrease in contracts and increase in labor, and I'm wondering if that's just coincidental or if we have succeeded in bringing in-house and training our people to do things that we were formerly contracting out on.
Okay, so let me start with the Commissioner KATZ, President KATZ comment or question.
One of the KATZ questions is fine.
So this number you see here was based on a snapshot taken in January. Obviously, we are expecting to have a normal year. As I reported before, right now we're around 93% normal. So that would equate to a normal year. So I don't expect this number to change significantly. I think the biggest reason for the swing is that last year we had record snowpack. We were around 300% of normal. So we maximized the amount of LA aqueduct water that we brought to the city of LA. But I don't expect this number to change significantly. It may go down a little bit based on the fact that we are seen to have a normal year. Plus also, we were holding some water back, not knowing the kind of water year we would have this particular year. So it may go down a little bit, but not significantly.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Very well. So I'm going to be talking about some of the key strategic investments that the water system is making. So I'm going to focus on water infrastructure, water quality, and water supply. So in this slide, what you're looking at here are some of the key water infrastructure investments that we're making. Here in the city of LA, we have focusing and have been focusing for many years on the reliability of our system, our pipeline system. As you know, we have over 7,400 miles of pipe in the system. So on a yearly basis, the water system staff replaces over 200,000 linear feet of pipe. The goal for the upcoming fiscal year is to replace 240,000 linear feet of pipe in the city of Los Angeles. We also have a pretty robust program when it comes to our other assets, like our tanks and pump stations. The department has around 110 tanks in the system, and a lot of these are welded steel tanks, which require to be emptied at times and to recoat and reline the inside, repaint the outside, and replace the roofs on some of them, just to make sure that we can extend the life of these facilities as long as possible. Also, we are working on a project out in the Owens Valley. It's a dam project where we're actually building a brand new dam. I know it sounds funny when I say that, but it's a dam. This is the North Hayway Dam number 2. The existing dam has some structural integrity issues, so which does not allow us to operate the reservoir at full capacity. So we have been working on this project for a while. We're going to continue working on it, and the idea is that when completed, we will have a brand new dam in the Owens Valley, and then we're going to move on to the next reservoir that's further north. So this is a pretty significant investment that we're making in our system. And lastly, from a water infrastructure perspective, the Headworks Flow Control Station, this is phase 3 of a 4-phase program. And this is at the Tom LaBonge Headworks Water Complex, where we initially built 2 underground reservoirs. Then we built a pipeline that goes through there, and now we're building a flow control station. This facility basically is replacing the storage that we had at Silver Lake Reservoir. These are underground reservoirs because they are not cylindrical, so they're not tanks. And this is phase 3 of that project. And our expectation is that we are going to have this completed by this summer, and then we're going to move on to phase 4, which is the restoration of the site. Next slide. From a water quality perspective, what you're looking at here, we have a couple of pretty significant programs. The first one is the Fairmount Sedimentation Plant. What that is a plant that's going to improve the quality of the water coming into the LA Aqueduct filtration plant. Our filtration plant is called a direct filtration plant, meaning that there's no detention basin to be able to have the solids settle out before it goes to the filter basin. So the facility we're going to build at Fairmont is going to allow us to settle out some of those sediments prior to getting to the filtration plant, therefore extending the life and the efficiency of our filtration system. The other one that you have on the top right corner is the Tujunga Well-Feed Response Action. This is part of an investment that the department has been making in groundwater remediation. In the San Fernando Basin and the San Fernando Valley, specifically the East Valley, the groundwater is contaminated. LA Water and Power has been working on 3 distinct projects, one called North Hollywood West, one is North Hollywood Central, and Tujunga, which is the one pictured here. The idea is to be able to pump out the plume of contaminants in the ground, remove it from the ground, and be able to restore the beneficial use of the groundwater for the benefit of the city of Los Angeles. We're expecting these projects to be completed and operational anywhere between August of this year to January of next year. So this is pretty exciting for us. These are pretty innovative projects as well that we're working on. And from a water supply perspective, as you know, the city of LA has been focusing a lot on recycled water and having more local water supply. The groundwater replenishment project is a project that we're conducting in coordination and cooperation with LA Sanitation, where we're going to be recycling water from the Donald C. Tillman plant. When completed, it's going to give us 22,000 acre-feet of recycled water per year. This will be advanced treated recycled water that will be used to recharge the San Fernando groundwater basin. And this is a pretty significant project. This will be coming to this board later this year with a guaranteed maximum price. It's a design-build contract, so you will have an opportunity to see what the expected maximum price is, and if it's approved by the board, then we'll move on to construction. And lastly, we're also supporting our local water supply project, our programs, the Stormwater Capture Parks project. We have identified 9 parks in the East San Fernando Valley where we are proposing to install infiltration basins under the parks. Many of these parks are in disrepair. So this is a collaboration between LADWP, Rec and Parks, and the County of Los Angeles, where we'll be able to divert water that typically runs down the gutter and goes into the storm drain. It will be able to divert it, run it through some water quality improvement, or what we call separators, remove the sediment, the water goes into the infiltration basin, and slowly will percolate down into the ground. On top of that, we'll put a brand new park. So there is a benefit to the community, there's a benefit to water quality, and a benefit also to water supply.
And that Tujunga well, what contaminated that water?
A lot of that was based on industry work that was done back in the 50s. A lot of it was using degreasers and things like that that were not properly disposed of.
And Lockheed. The whole Lockheed facilities, the skunk works.
That's part of it as well. So there's a couple of things. They are what I call TCEs and PCEs, which are volatile organic carbons, but there's also something called 1,4-dioxane. So all those different things are being treated at that facility, and then that water eventually gets sent to our centralized groundwater area in North Hollywood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anselmo. So the joint systems proposed budget for 24-25 is $3,945 million, which is over 6% or $200 million higher than the current year approved budget. The main drivers of that, as you can see, are the bond redemption and interest of roughly 3%, which equate to $36 million. Labor and regular and overtime, that's representing about 8% increase of roughly $49 million. The healthcare cost, that's roughly 10% or $39 million higher than the current year budget. Fleet purchases, as you can see here, are about 60% higher than the current year approved budget at $82 million above, as well as land and structures proposed at $34 million, which represents about 127% increase there of $19 million. And with that, in the next slide, this provides the additional granularity for those drivers. So for example, on land and structures, the $19 million, it's primarily for new facilities, and these are for properties for training, such as the 7833 South Vermont property, which is being considered as a site for the UPCT training, as well as the power system field groups. We also have properties to be used as regional mini yards, and those are for field crews intended to reduce the response time for outages and emergencies, but they're not intended to be permanent offices for the group. The other item here, the notable increases, you can see 80 million in fleet purchases are expected to be coming in the next year. And lastly, the healthcare payment, it's roughly a $39 million increase, and that is, this data is based on actually last year's updates. I know HR is in the process of receiving their latest projection from their carriers. It is anticipated that the healthcare cost is expected to increase in the final budget that we will be bringing to you in a few months. Now I'd like to turn it over to several of the divisions. We have IT, Information Technology Division. I believe Alina Cummings will walk you through some of the key strategic investments, and then followed by George Raphael for Customer Services, and also Greg Reed covering the DEI initiatives. With that, Alina?
Is it okay if I speak here? Oh, sure. Okay. All right. Well, good just afternoon, commissioners, and congratulations, President KATZ, and congratulations, Vice President McGraw. My name is Alina Cummings. I'm here on behalf of IT's Interim Chief Information Technology Officer, Mona Gerges. As you can see on the slide, the IT's preliminary budget for fiscal year 2024-25 is $314.5 million. The slide that you're looking at depicts the major IT initiatives for this fiscal year. The initiatives are organized and color-coded in 3 categories. Gray for foundational, that's what keeps the lights on. Yellow for transformational, for our digital transformation, and green for future initiatives. Further, the projects are also aligned with IT's strategic goals of improving operational optimization, employee experience, customer experience, and security and risk management, with estimated timelines and completions shown on the right side. Outlining some of our biggest projects in each of the categories. For operational and optimization and employee experience categories, we are implementing the Enterprise Resource Planning project with Workday, where we are replacing the legacy system of HR, payroll, and financials with modern solution. The HR payroll portion of the project is scheduled to go live January 1st of 2025. And the financial portion is scheduled for go live on July 1st of 2025. This is a multi-year project involving many functional and technical staff working hard to assure the success of this project. For customer experience category, we will be working on the customer care and billing system upgrade, where the system needs to be upgraded to stay in support and provide advanced metering infrastructure enablement and improved security. For security and risk management categories, we're working on several initiatives to improve our cybersecurity posture by conducting critical vulnerability assessment in the OT environment, implementing enterprise-wide password management software, and exploring new technologies such as artificial intelligence for security operations center automation. For other business system initiatives, and as you can see, there's a lot of initiatives that we have. Some of them, we are working on establishing enterprise-wide hardware and software commodities contract, supporting EV hubs, LA Connect, and Work Hubs initiatives, conducting research in identifying artificial intelligence and machine learning use cases for the line of business, implementing ServiceNow for IT service management, expanding enterprise-wide GIS capabilities, and many other exciting initiatives as listed. ITS has a robust team of approximately 530 strong technical and support staff under the leadership of our incomparable interim CITO, Mona Gerges, who are all working relentlessly to drive value to our customers through strategic deployment of technology and innovation.
Alina, quick question. We love the shout out to Mona. Hi, Mona. The future investments here, obviously, we met this morning and talked a little bit about artificial intelligence and machine learning and the department's approach. First, just putting it on the department's radar that we'd really love a presentation on our preliminary efforts there, how we're already using, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and how, in this budget and in future budgets, we're investing in that. I think you mentioned that in this cybersecurity $47 million, we've already factored in some additional spending around the use of AI and sort of evolving cybersecurity threats. But from friends I have in that field, well, let me ask you first, what's the delta on an increase in there? Like how much did we spend this year on cybersecurity? Do you know?
No, I don't have that exact number.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I can get that number for you, though.
Yeah, I'm just curious if it represents an increase, how big of an increase it represents. I do think that probably in this 24-25 fiscal year, we're going to see a massive proliferation of new cybersecurity threats based on advanced use of machine learning. And if our sort of spend around cybersecurity is steady, I don't know if it will be enough for us to weather that storm. So I would like us to do a little more research on, what's the delta between previous spending and this one. Does it adequately reflect an increased, the need for an increased spend here?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
We'll get that information to you. Thank you.
I have a question in general for both of you, which is department purchasing policies with regard to sort of environmental concerns. And so what, and you don't have to answer it today, just how do we decide what paper we buy, what ink we buy, what are our policies, and making sure that we're also giving small business enterprises opportunities, and not only in that level of purchasing, but as consultants. Typically, the contracts that are going out are very large and great for many, but in terms of some of the smaller, and I know the city council has put forward, Krikorian and others have put forward a motion to make sure that all departments are really taking into consideration small businesses. And, and obviously they have to be able to perform the work that you require. So it can't just be, an individual with 3 employees. It might have to be a heftier sort of organization, but just to take it into consideration. And the less international or across, the less, a lot of the time we also like to hire people from other parts of the world, which is always a little disconcerting when they don't come here to hire Americans. So just being cautious.
So we'll take a note of those questions and we'll get back to you. We'll work with supply chain to get back to you on those. All right. Are there any other questions on this slide, or we can, I think, move on to the customer services budget? I believe George Raphael is going to come up. Hello, George.
Hi, thanks, Marianne. Good morning, Commissioners. George Raphael, Chief Customer Officer for the department. Just to give some context to our requests, our operations are centered around serving about 1.7 million customers that are extremely diverse from an industry perspective, from geography, income levels, language, culture, and so on. And we have a very high volume, very synchronous operation. We've got about 3 to 4 million on average person-to-person customer interactions yearly. Another about 12 million that are done through self-service. We've process and generate about 20 million bills and payments every year with an equivalent back office number of activities and functions that to ensure that we support our customers. So we have, with that, we have a very strong focus on operational availability and resiliency to ensure that we're able to process these and looking at how we can more efficiently be able to deliver these functions. But fundamentally, our focus is on engaging with our customers. And when we do engage with our customers, we have very high customer satisfaction levels. Over the last 2 years, we've increased on the business side satisfaction level to, we're now #1 in the West. And on the residential side, we've grown, risen up to #8. But obviously, there's room to, to increase that, and we also want to maintain our business support and ensure this isn't just a one-time peak. So to do this, we need to increase our customer engagement with our customers and become more efficient, which requires starting off with improving our fundamentals. We're looking to upgrade and improve our systems, such as our customer relationship management, continuing that migration to have that become our core system rather than our billing system, so that we can continue to focus on the customer rather than on the bill. We're looking to improve our facilities, such as our service centers, continue to be not only be part of the communities, but increase and reflect those communities that we're in, and not be a payment or transaction center, but really be a full service center where we're able to increase our engagement with our customers and work with them and be part and show our value to those communities. In addition, to increase our efficiencies, we're looking at our processes, our policies, trying to shift away from this is how we've always done it to this is how we should be doing it, and looking at best practices and making sure that we're aligned with our customers. And to do that, we really need to ensure that we understand our customers. So we're looking to continue to invest in our customer analytics to better understand our customers, what those needs are, what their requirements, and really what the challenges and barriers that they've faced. And, we offer a lot of great services and programs, and we can increase our adoption. So we're looking to improve our accessibility, our customer access to these services and to our teams. And that first starts with understanding who they are, what they need, and then making sure we're aligned with that. And lastly, it's all this is to then overall provide a service framework that's adaptable to each of these customer segments as we understand them, and hopefully identify them as a customer segment of one, to be able to adapt our services, our functions, our processes to each of these customer segments. And fundamentally, it's just, we are looking to increase engagement with our customers, and with these investments are a reflection of how we can get there and be ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, George. Right, the next slide is the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and we have Greg to present.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and thank you, Marianne and Sunny. I'll start with the area of workforce development. Of course, the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is an important partner supporting our operating divisions, water system, power system, as well as joint services in the area of recruitment and also in the area of internal workforce development. We have many different programs that we administer, such as our tuition reimbursement, such as our recruitment in the engineering areas, going to various conferences and the various campuses to recruit our professional engineers. We also engage the military to recruit, to bring in for our skillcraft ranks. And the cornerstone of part of our recruitment strategy is working with IBEW to continue the development of our utility pre-craft trainee program and bringing those targeted local hiring opportunities to our communities. And with the transformation of that program to now extend into the entry-level ranks with our utility worker program, which is targeting entry-level positions such as gardener, caretaker, custodial, administrative clerk, tool room worker, delivery driver, so that we have more pathways for local customers to enter into employment with DWP. We're also working with IBEW to promote that in the Owens Valley, as we're looking at launching that program in the very near future. Internally, we're working on developing a mentorship directory so that we can provide the growth and development and pathways for promotion for our rank and file. And this directory is set to launch in the coming months, and it'll provide a formalized mechanism for junior staff to connect with more seasoned members of our team, of our management team, as well as our more seasoned rank and file, to have guidance over their careers and help them propel their careers for the future. The next area is supplier diversity.
One question.
Yes.
So the people who are going to be the mentors, they've agreed to this, they're looking forward to this, they want to be helpful?
I can't say that at this moment because we still are in development, but I very much expect that we're going to have full support from our executive team and our senior management team to make sure that this is a welcome and receptive program for everyone to engage in.
Because things can look great on paper.
That's right.
But if you don't have the built-in, you don't have the concern, you don't have a, give a damn, if I can use that expression, that's all very important.
We all have to care, right? And so both, attracting the best and brightest into the organization and having mechanisms that retain our best and brightest because they know that they have a pathway that they can follow and grow their careers. So with that, I think we also have our supplier diversity program, and with the interest in small business participation, as Commissioner LEHRER had just mentioned, we also have a big commitment to bring in small business. What we've done most recently is conduct supplier diversity events. And we're continuing to build on that on a quarterly basis. So our next event is scheduled for May, I believe, 9th. But going into the next fiscal year, we'll continue to have that as a part of our cornerstone of engagement with the business community and looking at other ways in which we can increase the participation of small business. So we have strategic initiatives that we're developing, such as unbundling our larger projects, to develop updated RFP scoring so that we can incentivize inclusivity on big contracts, and also looking at the possibility of developing a sheltered bidding program. There are governance constraints that we have to work through with our city attorneys, but we recognize the mayor has a big priority on small business inclusion. In fact, 90% of our businesses in LA are small. So by and large, they're the biggest employers for our city. So lifting up our small businesses basically lifts up all of our communities. With that, I do want to highlight that we have a very large project that is set to advertise later this year, which is our JFB renovation, the renovation of this headquarters. And I very much expect that that project will be a shining example of supplier diversity because it does not require highly specialized workforce to do this project. We're looking at partnering with our other public agencies in the region. And I just want to recognize our general manager for signing on to the Equity in Infrastructure Pledge. And that brings us into alignment with LA County, with Port of Long Beach, with the Metropolitan Water District, with the Airports Department, and several other public agencies who are committed to utilizing historically underutilized businesses on large infrastructure investment projects. So the strategic objectives that I mentioned, such as unbundling and inclusivity, are some of the strategies that the Equity and Infrastructure Pledge are promoting, and we are committed to doing that work. In addition to that, we also have been partnering with Public Works on the Small Business Academy program, and so that's where we bring in a cohort of small businesses to learn how to do business with DWP, also how to do business with the city at large. And Public Works is looking at increasing the number of cohorts with the Small Business Academy program, and so that'll be a part of our efforts going forward. And then lastly, the area of LA 100 and equity strategies, our clean energy transformation, and the important work that was culminated last November through the studies with UCLA and with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. So that's our LA 100 Equity Strategies Program. We, DEI office, has partnered with the power system in their strategic long-term planning process, which just kicked off this month. That gave us the opportunity to re-engage the equity strategies community-based organizations. And now we are looking to continue the equity strategies work into the implementation phase. So that means dealing with the top 5 priorities of affordability, of green jobs, of customer access to clean energy programs, and public health, which deals with truck electrification and transportation electrification. The 5th area being inclusivity, which by the design of the program, we're delivering on the inclusivity piece. So with that being said, we're looking at continued engagement and developing programs that will bring green economy jobs to the communities that typically are not involved in these programs. We also are looking at having a public awareness campaign so that we could more broadly raise the awareness among our underserved communities about our clean energy transformation and the opportunities that that will create and the benefits that will accrue as a result. We also are looking at working side by side with the power system on the customer programs in concert with our community-based organizations to increase customer access and utilization, in particular among those who are in our disadvantaged communities. So with that, it's a multifaceted program. I'm going to close my remarks there and ask if you have any questions for me.
Yeah, I do have questions. I'm very encouraged to see the continuing equity work. It's really of critical importance, and glad to see the CBO engagement on the SLTRP. I have 2 questions. One, you mentioned the equity metrics. I was wondering if there's been follow-up on the full set of 50 equity metrics. And then 2, I'm wondering if there are plans, I don't see any mention here, but that doesn't mean they don't exist, to extend the equity work to the water and water planning side.
Okay, thank you for those questions, Commissioner KATZ. So on the equity metric side, that is a part of my organization, and we are moving forward with the equity metrics data initiative. So currently we have a set of metrics that are presented to the board on a periodic basis. I believe there's been a gap over the recent period in our presentations, and so we will be resuming that reporting process.
That would be great. And I'm sorry if I wasn't specific enough. I remember back in 2016, there was the initial white paper launching the equity metrics, and I was curious if we've really fully adopted the 50 metrics from the white paper, or where we're at.
And I don't know the answer to that question, so I'll have to
Okay, we can follow up separately.
I'll follow up and bring that one back. But the go-forward component of equity strategies is to work with our community-based organizations on the metrics that they would like to see as it relates to our clean energy transformation, and so that we can establish our targets, measure our progress, and have a transparent means of reporting out on equity strategies. So that it will be an enhancement to our equity metrics approach going forward. Any changes to the existing set of metrics will be brought to the board for review and consideration before we make those changes. With that being said, the water plan, we have not started an official engagement on equitable approaches to the water system and the big investments that are being made, but that certainly is a very important component, because when we look at Operation Next and the level of investment and job creation that will entail, the impacts that project is going to have on the communities, we need to bring communities in to have those same type of conversations.
Yeah.
And so that is a part of our plan going forward, is to begin that engagement in partnership with the water system.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing that develop. I really do believe that equity is something that needs to be integrated throughout everything we do, as I'm sure you feel as well, given your role in leadership in this. But this is a very good start, and I'm very excited to see this continued engagement with our community organizations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg. The next slide, I believe Ann is going to cover the next expenditures and the financial plan slides. Ann?
Thanks, Mary Ann. So what we just went over is all of the money that Water, Power, and Joint contributed to the budget. The next few slides will talk about the financial results. So from the spending that's been proposed for power system, the far right columns is a proposed budget of $2,669,000,000. with the largest portion going to the Power System Reliability Program of $1.019 billion, followed by the Renewable Portfolio Standard, which will help us bring in our renewables of $577 million. The operating support, that's our joint system organization capital of $455 million, followed by infrastructure, which is our in-basin natural gas plants of $437 million, and then energy efficiency of $181 million. The next slide, this is capital. The next slide shows our O&M expenditures based on this budget for power. So operating support, $705 million. Power system reliability, O&M is $641 million. Infrastructure, $394 million. And then renewable portfolio standard O&M costs is $51 million.
Operating support is. And operating support.
Operating support, that is our joint organization cost, customer service, meter reading, all of the things that we do on an O&M basis daily. This slide shows us a financial plan for Power System, and looking at the far right column, our budget is based on selling 21,574 gigawatt hours of sales. Based on the approved budget for 23-24, it's about a 3.5% reduction from what we talked about earlier. This is supported by a revenue requirement of $5.285 billion. That's the amount of billings we would anticipate during next fiscal year. From that money, we'd have O&M expenditures that I just listed down of $1.791 billion. A fuel purchase power and emission costs of $1.605 billion. Depreciation, property taxes, and others of $925 million for total operating expense of $4.321 billion. In addition to those costs, we have other income and expenses, which includes contribution and aid of construction. That's capital contributions customers give us for investments. Our debt expense and our city transfer, that's an additional $367 million expense. And that would give us a change in net position for Power System of $597 million. This is supported by a system average rate for Power System of 23.2 cents and a borrowing of $1.310 billion. Looking at the same scenarios for water, so the far right columns for fiscal year 24-25 in our proposed budget is capital of $958 million, with the bulk of it going for infrastructure. That's replacing the pipes, and investments of $480 million. Operating support, again, which is our joint capital of $167 million. Water quality capital of $147 million. Water supply capital work of $132 million, and then Owens Valley O&M costs of $32 million. Looking from the O&M perspective, our costs are pretty consistent. Operating support, $192 million. Water quality, $188 million. Infrastructure, $171 million. Water supply of $143 million, and then Owens Valley O&M costs of $39 million.
Just for reference, you see the operating support costs, so it's roughly, what, 70% power, 30% water?
That's roughly
the
our
standard
split.
formula for the split for the joint services costs. That's how they're apportioned.
Thank you.
And if we turn to the next slide, this is the financial summary for water system. So water system, the preliminary sales for 24-25 is 178.2 million 100 cubic feet. And that's about a 6.4% reduction then from the approved budget of 23-24. This gives us a revenue requirement of $1.714 billion. O&M costs, as I just detailed down, of $733 million. Our estimated purchase water cost of $215 million. Depreciation, property taxes, and other for water system of $295 million, for a total operating expense of $1.243 billion. Other income and expenses for water system is an additional $125 million to give water system a change of $346 million increase in its net position for next fiscal year. This is supported by a system average rate for water system of $10.71 per 100 cubic feet, and we anticipate borrowing $325 million to support this program. And our request today is for approval. This is item 9, and I think item 9 and 10 to us to transmit this to City Council, to the CAO for their information, and we'll be back in May with a final budget.
Thank you. Any further questions from commissioners? I think we tackled a lot of questions along the way, but just in case.
I have some related to the HCF, but I'll wait until we consider item 9.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Marty, did you have a comment?
And one takeaway, make sure that we bring this back, that we've packaged particular efforts like the LA 100 efforts and others. They're in here, they're cut across all these pieces. We'll bring those together so it doesn't matter if it's a repeat information, we'll bring it together so it's tallied in a way that you can see it and recognize it and see where that trajectory is going.
That's going to be really important for our partners at City Hall too, so that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you very much for the
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a marathon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You need a motion to move this ahead, or?
No, these are the management reports. We will get to that.
Oh, darn. If you're ready, our next management report.
Yes, please.
Need a break or anything? Are we okay?
Let me check in with my fellow commissioners. Do we need a 5-minute bio break, or are we okay with continuing?
I'm all right.
Fine. We're doing okay? Okay, we'll
Okay,
keep going
great.
in the marathon.
So next, Thomas Simonowski, who's heads up our labor relations, will go through a presentation about the notice of compliance process and our letter agreements. This is one of the pieces that's important for us moving contracts forward.
Thank you.
Yes, this was just a few comments. This was an item that was requested after we pulled a letter of agreement that was on a board agenda several meetings ago. And Thomas will go through the details of just the pieces of how the LOAs were created, but most importantly, the notice of compliance that is based on, attached to our labor agreements that we have, and some of the details so we can generate discussions. So a lot of the details will be followed up on. But I just want to say that the context of this whole presentation is based on what we've had in place over 30 years is the joint labor management process that we have in place. We have a very, very robust structure of working with labor. We have a joint resolution board that actually addresses these issues as they come. And Thomas will give a lot of the details on how we sort through those issues. But I think in line, we have zero daylight on when it comes to that's our goal of labor management, leadership of everybody here. We're trying to make sure that the capabilities of this department is maintained, and we want to have the best trained, the best equipped, and the most capable workforce so we can go through these transitions properly. So that is the foundation of what we're going to discuss here, and I'll just have Thomas go through the details.
Thank you, Aram and Marty. Good afternoon, Board President, Vice President, and board members. Thomas Simonowski, Director of Labor Relations. So this is really a general overview of the Notice of Compliance process and letters of agreement with our labor partners. There's 3 main items here that intersect. It's the Notice of Compliance process, it's Charter Section 1022, and it's Appendix B of the IBW MOU. As you may know, the Notice of Compliance, or NOC as we call it, it's part of the city's contracting process. It results from City Charter Section 1022, which provides for departments to utilize contract forces if the work can be performed more economically or more feasibly than by city forces. If the proposed contract work involves bargaining unit work represented by our labor partners, then the NOC will involve the labor agreements with our respective memoranda of understanding with our labor partners, which is Appendix B for Local 18. I am going to focus on IBW's MOU because they represent the vast majority of our workforce, 90%, and they have a very detailed process, Appendix B, in their MOU. So, typically when an NOC is issued, and if it involves bargaining unit work, we will come to an understanding of some type of agreement that gets reached. And that's normally where the letters of agreement or letters of intent may be involved if it becomes a more formal type of agreement. So we're going to talk about those agreements as well. Now, as Eric mentioned, he talked about our joint labor management process. Before we can get into the notice of compliance process and the letters of agreement, just want to provide a little bit of additional background and context regarding our close relationship with our labor partners, with IBEW Local 18. This goes back to the mid-1990s, and the parties embraced the concept of what we call mutual gains bargaining. That is a non-adversarial type of bargaining that is focused on interests rather than on positions. And it utilizes the Joint Labor Management Committee process. We call them JLMs. And that's where labor and management get together. And it's really designed to promote and focus on mutual trust, cooperation, respect, and understanding between the parties. There is a central component called the Joint Resolution Board, and that is the entity that oversees the JLMs. That JRB is comprised of equal parts labor and management. And everyone on that committee or that board will receive mutual gains training. And they will tackle different types of items that are important for the department, such as, salary inequities, premiums, overtime, working rules, safety, reliability, maintenance, customer service, security, just to name a few issues. They meet every month. Now, if there's any of this bargaining that leads to modifications, if it's going to require a salary setting component, then we have to submit that to the city council for review and approval. If the item includes any benefits, then we submit that to your board for approval. And so a good example, recently we made and this is just, general, but recently, we sent over items for approval on salary for IBEW represented classification, and that went to City Council. And then a good example of a benefit is paid parental leave and bereavement leave, which were recently sent to this board for their approval. So we have various types of agreements that are codified. A letter of agreement is probably our most commonly utilized agreement between labor and management. And that's generally for items that are within the authority of the general manager to sign off on. So Marty signs off on LOAs, as we call them. If the item is contingent upon getting approval from your board or from City Council, then we can call them a letter of intent. And so the main difference between an LOA and a letter of intent is that the letter of intent is tentative because it's contingent upon the approval of either your board or City Council. And then we also have additional types of agreements here that we just wanted to provide information on. We have these special assignment LOAs that are basically having employees be assigned to specific types of positions or reassignments. Good examples of those are safety or instructor training positions. 72-hour work schedules, that's when an employee gets placed on a reduced work schedule. So those get signed by Marty and labor. And then sometimes we have settlement agreements to resolve a grievance matter or a disciplinary matter. Those get signed by the general manager as well. And then we have very specific agreements called supervisor's letter of agreement, and those are signed off usually by the division head. Those are specific to disciplinary issues regarding drug and alcohol related matters. And then the last item here is what we utilize for notice of compliance and for Appendix B. These agreements, they can be done more informally, whether it's through, email notification, but they get codified in the notice of compliance document that gets issued by the Labor Relations Office. And when they get more formal, they get codified in either an LOA or an LOI.
Can you give us an example of what one of those informal Appendix B NOCs are? Sure.
So a lot of times, the division that's requesting the NOC, they will, bargain to have a certain level of overtime that's offered to the bargaining unit for the impacted employees. And the Appendix B, as we'll get to, it has a floor. In most of the MOUs, it has a floor of 10%. And so a lot of times 10% ends up being what gets agreed upon. Sometimes you might see it escalate a little bit, 15% or even 20%, but that would be a good example of a type of agreement that a division will, agree to with Local 18 for an NOC. Right. Other types of examples are maybe like staffing. They might dedicate certain positions to be, providing, certain functions related to the contracting. Or if sometimes they might expand the number of crews, perhaps, just to augment that staffing level, to supplement the contractor.
So I understand why something that could be documented in Appendix B might become an LOI, because it requires Board or City Council approval because of its nature. But why would something be documented in Appendix B of an NOC and not in an LOA? Or what makes it rise to the level of an LOA?
Well, so it basically would be if, if we're going to bargain, anything unusual, the standard type of stuff that gets agreed upon, over time, even staffing to a certain extent, knowledge transfer, that's usually another component that gets incorporated. So that way, if the hope is to bring this in-house, if there's a mechanism to have that vendor, provide that knowledge transfer, to the employees, those are all examples of what is sort of standard business. There is a current item that is, I believe, going to get rescheduled for the next board meeting. That was for Clean Grid LA, and that is maybe about a 5 or 6 page document where they agreed to have task orders be reviewed by Local 18. There's some staffing positions that are fully dedicated. There's overtime that's above and beyond the normal 10%, and so that will be before your board for approval. I believe it's going to be at the next
an LOI.
Yes.
And in general, the LOIs are for items with financial implications, and that's why they would come before the board.
If it would be above and beyond what's already budgeted, right.
Well, this one, it's kind of the LOA was signed for this contract, which means the agreement was reached for getting that contract forward. So the LOA, meaning that they go side by side with each other, and there's a lot of details in the LOI LOA, but that's very specific for that contract. For example, if there's an engineering component to it that is very specific specialty item, but we have shortfalls on the, say, drafting or anything like that, the LOA will be specifically describing the areas where we need to staff up, get the knowledge transfer done and stuff. So the next time a task like that comes forward, that we could actually execute without having those shortfalls. So the LOA is very specific, but it is an agreement that is attached to the contract itself.
I'm going to ask one more clarifying question. So my understanding is that in this NOC process, an NOC and an LOA, are really important in that they go hand in hand, because the LOA is the agreement that pushes the NOC forward, and it's agreement among equal mutually benefiting parties. But that sometimes something goes awry, and what we sign in an LOA, we might do a legal review and find out it needs to be an LOI or something like that. Is that why is this LOA coming to the board if it's an LOA? Why is it? Must be an LOI.
Usually, if it's not impacting salary, if it's not impacting contract things, LOA, the general manager has the authority to sign an LOA, and that's the end of the process. For 5 general managers, we've never had LOAs come to the board because it's an agreement. Anytime we bring something that is tentative, as Thomas said, then it comes to the board, so we get the final approval, and that becomes the final binding agreement that goes with the contract. But LOAs, most probably, it's an operational type agreements that is mutually agreed upon. And once our general manager signs that, that's the end of the process for the LOA.
Right. That was my understanding too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. The particular LOA you're asking about does have a provision that it has to be approved by the board in that LOA. So it should have been titled an LOI at the time, but that was different than a lot of the others in the past.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go to the next slide here. So in general, the notice of compliance process, it's really for labor contracts that are in excess of $25,000. And then it has certain labor components, so if it's a contract for like a new contract, amendment, piggyback contracts, although I don't believe we're doing a lot of piggyback contracts these days, participation agreements, and then if there's any new labor component that gets added, that can trigger the need for an NOC. The Labor Relations Office is basically sort of like the facilitator between labor and management for the NOC. So it starts with a request that comes from the division. They will submit it to Labor Relations, and then we will go ahead and review the request. We will contact our labor partners and inform them about the requested contract. If everything is fine, then the NOC can be issued. If labor wants to meet, then we go ahead and we set up that meeting, and then that will lead to hopefully getting an agreement. And this is for items that have a labor component. So typically, it's for bargaining unit work that's involved, for Local 18. And then, once that gets, approved, where the parties are in alignment, then the notice of compliance document will get issued. And in that way, the division can proceed with, furthering their contract, because it is a step in the contract process. Without it, they can't really go forward because there has to be a Charter Section 1022 finding. And so the next slide here is Charter Section 1022. This is the actual language from the Charter. I just highlighted here that, it really allows, departments to enter into contracts, that are going to utilize, non-city forces, as long as there's two key factors here. The work can be performed either more economically or more feasibly by the contractor than by city employees. So that's where the analysis has to come in from the requesting division. Most divisions will, indicate a feasibility basis rather than an economic basis. And that's probably because it's just a little bit easier for them to go with the feasibility route, instead of comparing it between, costs of city forces versus cost of the vendor. But by and large, that's how we normally, issue the NOCs is through feasibility finding. And, we share that information with our labor partner, just so that way they're informed in terms of why there's a need to contract out. So that way, so for example, feasibility can be that we don't have enough staff and there's not enough time to, to get this staff, up to speed, to get them trained and get them ready to go. Or perhaps the nature of the work is something that we are not knowledgeable about. We've never done it before. It just wouldn't be, it wouldn't be, able for the department to take part in that type of work. It could be, proprietary type work that the department doesn't have, certain types of expertise, the whole, gamut. So I've talked a little bit about Appendix B. I've mentioned it. And so that's what this next slide is about. It's really, the actual language in the MOU that we have with IBEW Local 18. This language goes back decades. It goes back to 1990. And for the most part, it's been relatively untouched since 1990, although I will say that maybe about 14 years ago, they added language about the overtime floor. So that's probably the main difference that we see. And I'm going to show you the language in just a moment. But there are some exemptions here. So what labor has done is they've agreed to not engage in the meet and confer process, and they've supplemented it with a meet and discuss process under Appendix B. And basically, it's for contracts, or it's not going to apply to contracts that are $100,000 or less. If it doesn't involve their bargaining unit work, if there's any proprietary type equipment or expertise for services, rental equipment, and then emergency that are bona fide emergencies, that's all going to be exempt. And there's a, for all other types of contracts, and we have to definitely engage labor with Appendix B. There is something that we call a 2-byte process for notification. That originated back in 2008 with a general manager Nahai. And essentially with a 2-byte notification process is there are times when we will notify labor twice. We do it when they're going to engage the RFP stage. and then we do it again before the item goes to board. So if the NOC does not get issued at the RFP stage, then we will, try to get it approved and ready before it goes to board. So that's really what that 2-bite process is about. And then one of the other key clauses here that we're going to go into a little bit more detail is the expedited arbitration clause. The whole intent of this was really to try to make this streamlined. If there is no agreement that can be made, then arbitration is kind of like the last step that can happen between labor and management. It's supposed to have or it indicates a 5-day turnaround time to file for arbitration, although I will say that rarely happens. The last time that arbitration was filed, where it actually went to an arbitration, was probably about 10 years ago. And so with arbitration, it's all designed to happen within 30 days, and it is a non-binding arbitration. So, but like I said, it happens pretty rarely, what the department has tried to do is try to work with labor to try to secure agreement with the NOC. That way it avoids the need to go to an arbitration, and then it preserves the good working relationships that we have with labor. So here's the actual language. The first part of it, and essentially, what we have here is the clause here that indicates it's not meet and confer, that it's advisory arbitration or non-binding, except there is an exception here for grievances that are raised under job security. Item number 3 here is basically the exclusions that I mentioned. On the next slide here is where we get into the process for the 5 days. And many times, although this is codified here in the language, I can tell you in reality, we don't really necessarily adhere to these 5 days because we really try to work with labor to secure agreement. However, if for some reason, we cannot seek agreement, then, and if the department wants to move forward, then labor can notify us that they want to file for arbitration. And like I said, that kind of rarely happens. And then the item number 6 here is sort of the newer language that we see emerged maybe about 14 years ago. And that was about overtime, 10% is the floor. There are a few MOUs where it's 5%, but for most of the contracting that we do, it is a 10% floor. And this is one of the items that gets agreed upon quite frequently. To put the 10% in perspective, we're really talking about 8 hours per pay period. So a lot of times that can be the employees as due, as we call it, which is, if they work on a 980 work schedule or on the weekend, if it's like a Saturday or Sunday. And this next slide is basically just, indicating different types of conditions for approval. So I already talked about overtime, but some of the other items here that can be, part of a condition that can lead to the agreement is, first right of refusal, having the task order notification, so that way they're shared with the union before they issue it to the vendor. Staffing, knowledge transfer, PLAs are also known as project labor agreements. Reporting, custom reports that are sent to Local 18, and other types of information that can lead to an LOA or LOI. This is just a snapshot of the last 5 years of NOCs that were issued, where they came from in terms of the system, and then the contract value amount. I just want to put it out there that this contract value amount is not necessarily actual expenditures. It's just the value of the contract from the point of time when the NOC was issued. Keep in mind that a lot of these NOCs are multi-year deals, and so they will include the full value of that multi-year deal in the year of this line item. And so, if we look at, the last 5 years, we're close to about, 12 billion. Again, that doesn't mean that we've actually expended the 12 billion. It's just what was approved through the NOC. And this also doesn't reflect every single NOC with labor, because some of the NOCs, they don't necessarily have to, go through labor, but they still have to get issued.
Do you have count for us on NOCs that are pending issuance?
Yes, we have about 50 right now, like 50, that are currently pending, and about 40 of those are with labor.
And do you know the breakdown of power versus water and the relative length of how long those NOCs have been pending?
I do. Just give me one moment here. Okay, so with power, we have about 15 that are pending, and that is a value of about $2 billion. The oldest one goes back to 2021. With water system, we have 15 as well, and that's about current value of about $1.5 billion, and that oldest one goes back to 2019. So on the joint system, we have 10, and that's about $181 million pending, and those are all in the last year, going back to August of 2023.
So that's 40 total that we have pending?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Right. With labor, right. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, and this next slide is really just to sort of reiterate the process. So once the request gets received by Labor Relations, there's sort of two outcomes here. If it's no bargaining unit work, then we can, go ahead and pretty much issue the NOC. We do, as a courtesy, we do notify labor on all of our requests. But if there's no bargaining unit work, then it usually is not much of an issue. We can go ahead and issue it fairly quickly. And then, if it gets issued, then the contract can go to the board. And then if it does have a labor component where it's got bargaining unit work, that's outcome number 2. So we'll go ahead and initiate Appendix B, which is the meet and discuss. We'll sit down and we'll try to work out, an agreement with labor. And I just wanted to say, sometimes they won't have a condition. I just want to make that fair and put that out there. They might just say, we're good with this, go forward. And that does happen quite a bit as well. So if that happens, where we either get agreement or they say we're good on this, go forward, then that can also get finalized, and then the contract goes to the board if it requires board approval. And then if for some reason we cannot get an agreed upon issue with labor, then what we have to do is make a decision whether we're going to go to arbitration or try to work something out. But that's essentially how this works. And like I said, we haven't really done a whole lot of arbitrations, especially in the last 10 years, because the whole intent is to try to get some type of agreement with labor to preserve our relationships. Yes.
Process. So I understand this is the process as it's supposed to happen, but I also understand that sometimes there may be contracts coming to us for approve that haven't had the NOC, and this process is obviously very important, and I wanted to understand why and how that might happen.
Sure.
Because then a contract is approved by the board, the expectation is that we can move forward and get this work done, and then things are held up in the process.
Right. So normally what happens, the NOC doesn't, as far as I know, the NOC doesn't get attached to the contract documents when it goes to the board. However, when the resolution is made for the contract, there's normally a reference that indicates that it's more, economical or feasible, like there's like a finding. So that normally gets placed into the resolution for the contract. So that is the satisfaction for 1022.
Okay.
Can you go a little deeper into answering that question? Because I'm not sure I got an answer. So these contracts can reach us prior to the NOC process being complete and due frequently.
Any contract, and I'm not talking about notice of compliance, what I'm talking about is the actual contract. Sure. They have to satisfy the NOC requirement, but if that particular contract requires board approval, so there's a threshold dollar amount, yes. Right? So yeah, a lot of these have to go to board, so and they do go to board for the contract. And when that happens, the NOC doesn't get attached to the actual contract language that goes to the board. However, there's a resolution that the board adopts, And that resolution is supposed to have language that talks about the feasibility, to contract out.
That part I do understand.
Yes.
The part I don't understand is the contract comes to us, even with the NOC not attached. Sometimes the NOC is complete and sometimes it's not when the contract comes to us. And then we don't have any visibility later on whether or not an NOC gets approved on a contract we might have approved months or years previously.
Yeah, we don't normally, like it's pretty rare where we have like a letter of intent for an NOC. It's highly rare. In fact, we've probably had a handful of those. So that's the reason why they're not coming to the board, because there really isn't a need to secure, the board's approval.
I think what,
could anyone help me?
Could you speak to these contracts that you mentioned, 2019, 2021? That's a long time, and
Yes.
as I understand it, the contract can't move forward, the work can't get done until this is resolved.
Correct.
Can you speak to anything we're doing to address the backlog?
That's really, up to the division. What labor relations does is we try to help facilitate those discussions to help keep them going. And, at some point, the division is they're going to have to decide if they want to, go through the arbitration process. And so that's ultimately, what would need to happen if there's a concern about the time frame. I don't know, Marty, if you'd like to.
So if I could, on a couple of things. So first of all, in response to the question about NOCs come to the board or contracts with that NOC, generally everything you see has an NOC. There are some times that an NOC is pending and we're just waiting for the final sign off. And so, I'm trying to think of any instances that there wouldn't have been one following up. So I don't think you've approved anything that then hasn't gone forward.
Is it fair to say, though, Marty, that this process flow chart is really for where there's an LOI, and that if it's an LOA, it sometimes goes to the board prior to signature, as you're saying?
That's probably true, but I try to think if usually it'll say in a board package whether NOC has been issued or not.
Okay.
It should say that at all times. What we do have is in terms of the process, a lot of times contracts have been advertised, and they have been advertised and they're waiting to be awarded by the board, but then they're sitting in the NOC process waiting to be awarded. So we've had, times that, we asked about a question, projects been out there for years. We've had contractors that have been successful bidders that are hanging onto their bids for a period of years waiting for award of a contract. We've had contractors that have dropped out. We've had contracts we've closed out because the bids are 2 or 3 years stale. So that is a problem. It's this box right in the middle, NOC issue with agreed upon conditions. That's where all the time is. Everything outside that box is fast.
That's very inefficient and hurtful even to the diversity things that we were discussing earlier. Very, very disconcerting in that. In fact, that's what is one of the big complaints when they talk about many of the minority contractors in the past. Some of these things have just hung, and the fruit never dropped.
That's correct. And we had our diversity fair downstairs during Black History Month, and we talked about contracts and contracting out there. Yet the reality is right now the process is broken to the extent that we're trying to bring in contractors and make them work and this money more available to small firms in LA. Yet the mechanism to get from point A to point B is not complete. Well, it's complete, but it's not predictable.
Thank you.
Thank you. So after the NOC gets issued, if there are any conditions, then it's really, for the contracting division to go ahead and ensure compliance. So for example, if they agreed to have 10% overtime, they need to make sure that they're offering the overtime, to their staff. Any knowledge transfer, meetings with labor, et cetera, to provide updates. The requesting division has to make sure that they're abiding by those agreements.
And to be fair, this is a point that we have to improve our performance on. And one of the difficulties is a lot of contracts reach across responsibilities. And so a contract may have, you may have a contract doing work, but there's other parts of the department whose workers could have performed some of that work if we'd done it in-house. And so how to make sure that across the department, we're all seen together so that we don't fall down on our responsibilities and the commitments that we've made.
Thank you. I think separately, it'd be helpful to have some follow-up on this in terms of what the department is thinking of doing to sort of make sure this process is efficient and flows. And, you know, it's a very important process. We do want to ensure that everything that can be done in-house is done in-house. But then if we are contracting, we want to make sure that we can move forward expeditiously and get work done. So I think it'd be interesting and helpful to follow up further on that, but I don't expect you to be prepared with that today. So thank you.
Okay, and that brings me to the end.
You know, I want to offer a couple thoughts here. First, I mean, obviously, our most important relationship in our ability to serve our customers is with our staff, and therefore, by extension, with our labor partners. And the health of those relationships, I think, as you've highlighted throughout this presentation, is really important. And this seems to be a place where we are ailing in our health, you know, in that relationship. And it does seem like there are some things happening that seem to be eroding that trust. I had the honor of sitting in on a JRB meeting and sort of listening to the beginning of a conversation around some of the ways the NOC process is and isn't working for us, and some of the concerns from our labor partners and some concerns from management. First, I just want to say that, you know, this idea of us starting to insert language about board approval into LOAs, basically kicking them up into LOIs, is not something I want to see a lot of, personally. I don't want to see that at all. I think, like, we've had a system for the last 5 GMs. Our relationship with labor is based on trust, and I don't think that's the place where we should be getting creative. I do think there are places where we should be getting creative in order to enhance our performance on the sort of expeditious, you know, to use NURIT's words, you know, run of these contracts. And I think a real deep discussion with our labor partners about how to improve that process. I mean, some of the things I've heard just anecdotally around the department are NOC packets being delivered late on Fridays without specific classifications being delineated, so that our labor partners have to, you know, do all that cross-sectional work to figure out which classifications are impacted and what we're really agreeing to. And then, you know, when it's time to actually negotiate some of these things with the different divisions sending, you know, junior engineers, you know, almost as a hazing into these rooms. They don't have any knowledge, they don't have any decision-making power, and they're sitting with senior staff on labor who, you know, want to get something done here and nothing gets done, and so these contracts get held up. And I don't think we've been doing ourselves or our labor partners a service by treating this NOC process as if it's sort of a foregone conclusion every time we enter one. I think that, you know, to your point, Marty, we talked about how division heads need to do a better job of making sure that those terms we're agreeing to, things like knowledge transfer, the amount of staffing we're doing overtime, any sort of special amendments to that might kick something into an LOA or an LOI, that these need to be really, you know, strictly followed up on. And I know that there have been times where we haven't done a very good job there either, and where labor comes back at us and says, like, how are you want us to approve another NOC? You didn't abide by the specifications in the last one. So I would like to see some more information on this in a board presentation, specifically, you know, where the department really thinks, and speak to our labor partners about this before the presentation, but where the department really thinks we can improve this process, you know, honor our labor partners in that process and speed things up. Because, I mean, we have a massive amount of work to do to hit our 70% water goal and our 100%, you know, clean power goal, and we're not going to get there without robust labor. Like, it's impossible. They're the machine that makes this whole thing work. And we are going to have to contract some of that externally. I am of the opinion that, you know, every time we look at those contracts, we need to be thinking how we can bring more of that knowledge, more of that influence, more of that power internally, and build the department's muscle. I mean, we're in the middle of this climate change emergency. We're going to see more floods, more wildfires, more system breakdowns, and we need more capacity internally to harden those systems and to respond to those emergencies. And I think having a weakness at the heart of our NOC process is just not something that we can really allow if we're going to be responsive as a department. And, you know, the last thing I'll say is, Marty, you mentioned that you used the word broken to describe it. I mean, it's clearly not completely broken, right? I mean, it's working for the vast majority of NOCs to the tune of, what, $12 billion. But where can we optimize, and where can we make sure that we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater? I think, you know, words like broken make me feel like I also don't want us to go too far in our edit, if that makes sense. Thanks.
Maybe not broken, maybe in need of attentions.
Yeah. The check engine light is on, it seems.
Just to build on that, I mean, it just starts with the GLM process was set for an open and very transparent communication early on. So people are not surprised because we do have the same goals, you know, as we move forward with this transitional periods. So I think having those kind of very tight communications and making sure that we are together up front on the plans that we're doing, whether we're building renewable energy or the generation, you know, the water system infrastructure, anything that we're doing, those are critical conversations that we need to have in order for us we come to the same conclusion. This work needs to be contracted out because we will never acquire the strategic capabilities of doing that. It's once in a lifetime thing that we will never beef up to it.
If we need a LiDAR drone to go measure a dam depth.
Just like the transmission upgrade that we're doing, it's a specialty crane system that we will never get that because it happens every 30 years, right? So we come to the same conclusion early on, and then everything opens up, you know, so we can go forward with that. So on these, what we're doing is figuring out these 40 contracts that we have and how we can comply with these basic things is what is the long-term strategic plan that we have in staffing? How are we retaining the knowledge that we have strategically, and how are we moving forward with all these plans put together? That's going to be some sort of an agreement that we put together so we can open up the door for these NOCs to move forward and get our jobs done. Just to answer your other question, the board got the contract through because it was on-demand task oriented, and the LOA was needed to actually unlock the tasks that we have. So the contract went forward with $75 million, but the tasks themselves are stuck because we don't have an agreement in place. So that's how the contract came through to the board.
And just to speak a little bit about the GRB, we have had discussions with our labor partners about how to improve upon the process, just so that way when they get the request, you know, we're giving all the information up front. We don't have to waste time, you know, gathering the information. So we're working to, you know, we're trying to work that out. They've also asked that we, you know, expand the training opportunities for, you know, internal staff. So that way, you know, they're more well-equipped to navigate through the NOC process. So we've actually, you know, partnered up with supply chain. They're doing RFP training that actually started yesterday, as a matter of fact, and we have NOC component that's part of that training. So that just started yesterday, and then, you know, there's another session for today, but that's dedicated where, you know, it's an hour of time spent on how to navigate through NOC.
Voluntary or mandatory?
It's voluntary, but it's targeting all the contract administrators.
Yeah, we had a good cross-section yesterday, the first class. We have 7 modules that's going through. It's a training. It's a mutual training that we go through to make sure that we're all doing the right things.
So we're improving the packet, we're doing some training, and then we're going to set some standards for who delivers or who brings these NOC packets over and negotiates them?
JLMs, we're talking more of the JLM process that we could sit down and actually talk about these long-term plans up front, have all the details. As we know them, the labor side will know them. We work together, we plan for that. So those are the areas where we can improve for the long term.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, I think, the ratepayer advocate has a question as well. Thank you.
There's a supply chain services report that's issued quarterly that includes a list of pending, closed, and issued NOCs. That is useful, and it's useful to compare it quarter to quarter because some can disappear for the list for reasons that don't involve being closed.
Thank you. We'll take a look. Appreciate that. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Want to check in with our dais again. Do we need a 5-minute bio break? We do still have quite a few items left to go.
Everybody okay?
You want a bio break or you going to take a lunch break?
That we could also do lunch break now rather than waiting till just before closed session. I know we have folks here for different items.
Short break.
A short break. Let's do a short break and we'll do a longer break later before closed session. Let's do, can we make it 5 minutes? Will that work? Is that too short? You need 10? We'll do 10. 10-minute break.
Or maybe reconvene at 1:30 perhaps? Would that work? Then people, if they do
Let's
grab
do
a
it.
bite.
All right, 1:30. Then you can also have a snack. We will return.
Good afternoon. Would you please maintain silence in the audience and at the dais? We will begin in approximately 20 seconds. Please also silence your cell phones. Madam Commissioner, we're ready whenever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. We have quite a heavy agenda today, so appreciate everyone's time and patience. I know we just had the LA Marathon. This is our version of a marathon board meeting here today, so I'm glad everybody got a snack. So we are completed with management reports, and we are now moving on to a report by commissioners on committee activity, and I believe we have a report from Commissioner McGraw on personnel.
Yes, very briefly. The Personnel Relations Committee, of which I'm the new chair, met on Thursday, February 22nd to hear 5 cases. I instituted new time limits for both grievance and management to move the process along so that we can hear more of these so that we can hear more of these grievances at once and clear the backlog of cases which spans several years at this point. We're in the process of scheduling 2 additional Personnel Relations Committee meetings, the first of which will be this coming Thursday. And after those meetings, the backlog should be fully cleared and we'll be back to hearing those cases live.
Of course.
Thank you.
Any questions for Commissioner or Vice President McGraw? Okay, then the next is filed items. Any questions on the filed item? Okay, then I make a motion to approve the minutes unless anyone has any questions or objections.
Seconded.
Great. Oh, and I apologize. I think at the start of the meeting we needed to redo roll call. Shall we do that now?
Just to confirm the roll for recording purposes, we have President Richard KATZ, Commissioner NURIT KATZ, Vice President McGraw, and Commissioner PINDER. And for the motion, I would like to call roll. President KATZ?
This is the motion to approve the minutes.
Yes.
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
Vice President McGraw?
Aye.
Commissioner PINDER?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Okay, that takes us to motions for future consideration. I don't believe anyone has a motion to introduce today. I also believe we have no discussion with neighborhood councils. So that takes us to our items for approval. I believe all the items that have been called special do not require presentation, but only have some questions. So hopefully we can be swift. And we will start with item 2. This is the commemorative asset naming policy. I think Catherine Rubin, our head of environmental affairs, is joining us. And George, did you have a question about the policy?
I do. I'm glad to see this policy coming to fruition and to have a little more structure in place for this. I actually have a little bit of a request. I'm wondering if we can amend the policy slightly to give the department the leeway to also name things in collaboration with our Indigenous partners, using sometimes their Indigenous names or people of tribal concern, especially up in the Owens Valley, where obviously we're investigating things like tribal land co-management. I think incorporating that in the policy would give us that flexibility to use some of those naming conventions in partnership with them and go a long way in building trust.
Yeah, I think that would be fine as long as, of course, it has to go up through our executive management and then to you. We don't have any problem with that.
I think it's a great idea.
I think so.
And legal, I think, had already vetted the policy. Do you have any concerns? Is this something we could amend here and now, or?
Yes, you can make a motion to amend the policy and then.
Okay, I think it'd be great if we could do that so it doesn't get held up further, as I know there are some pending namings. So I make a motion to amend the policy as Commissioner or Vice President McGraw suggested, to specifically acknowledge potential naming opportunities in collaboration with our tribal partners. And do we need to say the specific language at this time as part of the motion, or
I mean, I think
work that out with legal? I think that's clear enough.
The motion is
clear. Great. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you.
Aye.
Commissioner NURIT KATZ?
Aye. We can just stick with President KATZ and Commissioner KATZ. So thank you.
Vice President McGraw?
Aye.
Commissioner PINDER?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, and that brings us to the next item that was called special, which is item 5. And this is the memorandum of agreement with LADWP and personnel on funding for staff and examination services.
Me again.
Yes, did you have a question?
I do. So obviously this is a big swing for us, a major improvement in the amount of support we'll have from personnel to clear some of this employment backlog. Yeah, I feel the same.
It exactly right.
I feel the same way. My question is on how we're measuring our impact. So what's our estimate on how this will impact time to get examinations set up, get people in seats? Basically, how will we know if this is successful? Have we set any goals for ourselves, any metrics for ourselves on how quickly we want to fill empty positions, or how much more quickly after we move from 2 or 3 to 25 designated positions at personnel?
Well, great questions. The idea is to go from 7 funded staff to 25, which is, as you say, is a big lift. We designed this item to be effective April 1st rather than the beginning of the fiscal year because we need them to start interviewing. And they are going to. They're ready to start. That's a lot of hiring for them. So as Marty alluded to a little earlier, they're going to work hard and swift, but it's going to take a little time. The hope is that they'll be fully staffed with the 25 by the beginning of the fiscal year. We'll see. We'll push them. But they're going to start hiring quickly and have staff in place as quickly as they can. After that, the service level guarantees in the memorandum of agreement are a 62% reduction in cycle time, as we say it. As I think you probably know, right now the reality is that it takes the personnel department about 8 months to assign an exam, to assign it, and about 12 to 14 to actually get our civil service list ready for our operations folks to use. The service level guarantee in the new memorandum of agreement takes us to 4.5 months for a single type exam to 5.5 months for a multi-part exam. And so that's the service level guarantee that we expect with that staffing. Keep in mind, we did not dictate to the personnel department what we would give them. We started with the end in mind. We said, this is what we need for our operations. This is what we've needed for a long time. You tell us what kind of staff you need. And they thought about it. They didn't tell us right away. They discussed it. They did some analysis. They ultimately came back and said, we essentially need a division for DWP, which is what this would be. And so that's the staffing that we came up with.
And are there other performance benchmarks or metrics that either personnel or us or the two of us in combination are tracking?
We meet with the personnel department quarterly, and we share metrics. And the primary metrics, they give us lots of stats, which we would be happy to share with this board. But essentially,
get our unemployment rates up and no need.
Essentially, what we look at most frequently, though, is the time it takes in days from when we submit the exam request to when they tell us they've established the list.
And we're saying that this is going to take that to 4 or 5 months.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, right now it's 12 to 14. Now, to be fair to the personnel department, if one of the AGMs calls me and says this is absolutely critical, I can call down there and they'll juggle some things and they can do it a little more quickly. But the rule is it takes 12 to 14 months. And they just don't have enough staff. And that's what we're doing here. We're giving them the tools they need to meet our current needs as well as the needs we know we're going to have with Operation Next, with LA 100.
Big city family hug.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you. That's all I have.
One final point. I know Commissioner KATZ had indicated she'd like to see a presentation on our hiring efforts. We are working with Power, Water, and Joint on anticipated hiring needs for the next 5 to 10 years, and we hope to have that here in the next couple of months. I'll follow up those figures with more detailed on the front end and the back end, what we're doing with civil service lists, and also our accelerated Saturday hires methods, which we're utilizing now to be more efficient here at DWP in using the list that we do have.
Excellent. Thank you very much. With that, I'm going to make a motion to approve item 5.
Wait.
Do you have another question?
We did suggest that a component be added to the resolution for a performance audit after the first year.
I'm
Seems in line with
comfortable
my
with that.
concerns,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would seem to align. All right. Motion to pass item 5, but as amended by OPA's recommendation to include a requirement for a performance audit after the first year.
By internal audit,
By internal what?
by the internal audit group.
Oh, by our internal audit group. Thank you.
Commissioner, if you could have your motion to
Motion to amend and then motion to
Yes,
approve?
yes.
Okay, sorry. The motion to amend item 5 to include a requirement for a performance audit annually or at the 1-year mark by our internal audit team. Do I have a second? Second. Can we call the roll? Sorry.
Commissioner NURIT KATZ,
Aye.
President Richard KATZ,
Aye.
Vice President McGraw,
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder,
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Excellent. Now I make a motion to approve the amended item, number 5. Do I have a second?
I second.
Excellent.
Commissioner NURIT KATZ,
Aye.
President Richard KATZ,
Aye.
Vice President McGraw,
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder,
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Excellent. All right. Then with that, we move on to item 6, which I believe Vice President McGraw also has a question.
Hi.
Hello. Hello, Lisa. So I've been looking at this 12.8% increase in single dwelling unit residential customers' monthly bill. And I see that it's attributable to a bunch of things. Water savings resulting in lower purchase volume, same thing we're seeing in efficiencies on the electrical side, replacing aging trunk lines, but also an increase in under collection balances. We have reviewed those at a recent meeting, and I'm wondering how big of a factor those under collection balances were in this increase. Do you know?
Sure. Let me take a look really quickly. So the balance actually, we're looking, let me just give you, I think I have the number here. If you're looking for water infrastructure, for the last period, when we do the calculation, it's roughly 23 million, and now it's 98 million.
Okay.
So that's about like a $75 million increase.
But I'm not looking at the infrastructure. I'm thinking that might be the biggest factor, but I'm looking at those under collection billings, the money we haven't been able to recoup.
Okay, so basically the under collection, we track by each of the pass-through. So we track separately based on the ordinance. So the ordinance requires us to maintain the balancing account, and then it's kind of a true-up mechanism. So we can prepare a report just so each of the pass-through, how much is the balance, because basically you have to calculate separately, you cannot combine them.
Understood. I think what I'm trying to get at is we saw in a recent meeting, I think 2 meetings ago, that our balances under collection has been increasing exponentially post-COVID, and we've had a hard time getting that money back in the system. And so I'm trying to understand what impact that problem is having on this number raising.
So that is not impacting this number. What Lisa's group is doing is whatever needs to be billed, but accounts receivable, if you look in the financial services filed item activity report, our accounts receivable for December grew for water system from 257 million to 271. We are expecting in April, we have $77 million to apply to accounts receivable for water, so that will bring that number down, but it doesn't impact the cost to be recovered in these rates.
So what is that, what is the definition of that? I just said it, but let me make sure I say it exactly right. What is the definition of that the increases in under collection balances?
So the increase in under collected balances is the amount that we assumed we were going to incur to serve the customers and what we did incur, and that difference then is a true-up mechanism in the rate ordinance.
Okay.
Basically, very simple. If you look at it, when we do the calculation for the rate, we use the forecast information. We forecast the expenditure, forecast the sales. But when the actual cost coming in, the sales can be lower and the cost can be higher or lower. So then that's basically is a true up.
Understood. Understood. Thank you very much. I have one more question for you, which is the water supply cost adjustment factor here was projected to decrease for tier 2 through 4, but increase for basic use. And I'm wondering if you can explain how we attribute rate increases or decreases across those 4 factors. And it would seem to me like if we're increasing the basic tier the most, that it's going to impact most of our customers, including our lowest income customers, disproportionately.
Sure. Very good question. A lot of people ask the same question. So basically, we have 4 like a major water supply source. We like looking, aqueduct, which is the cheapest water to provide, the supply. And then we have groundwater, we have purchased water, we have recycled water. So when we do the calculation, we basically rank them. We calculate the cost based on the cost, like use aqueduct as example. We know here's the total cost expenditure, then here's the production unit it generate. So then you calculate the unit cost. Then we rank it, from the cheapest to the highest one. And then when you look in the basic tier, which is tier 1, we start with the cheapest water source first. Then when you go up to the next level for the tier 2, if you run out, the cheapest water, you use more expensive one. So that's why they are more expensive.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right,
You're welcome.
thank you very much. Motion to approve item 6.
Move. Second.
Commissioner NURIT KATZ,
Aye.
President Richard KATZ,
Aye.
Vice President McGraw,
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder,
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Excellent. And that brings us to item 9. The recommendation to transmit this preliminary budget. It is not the approval of the budget, but the sending of the preliminary budget to the city.
If that's only me, I had my question answered in the management presentation.
Great. Then motion to approve item 9.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner NURIT KATZ,
Aye.
President Richard KATZ,
Aye.
Vice President McGraw,
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder,
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
All right. That brings us to item 11, wildfire insurance. Did you still have a question on that?
I do.
All right.
Thanks for waiting this whole time.
No problem. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Larry Chapman, Chief Risk Manager.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Chapman. I'm just curious why we're approving it seems to me like we're approving 3 different methods for risk management in this board resolution. Is that right?
It can be seen that way, but we're looking at it as a program as a whole.
Right.
Mitigation efforts to keep us from spending the entire amount on just commercial insurance.
So we're seeking full commercial insurance first. So we see what our options are there. And then we go to authorize alternative risk programs like CAT bonds. And have we had and used all these alternatives in the past, or are these new? Are we layering them on top of our commercial insurance for the first time?
Every year we go out and we get a quote on commercial insurance.
Yeah.
In the past, it's always been something that we thought was affordable. Starting in 2017, 2018, we started to have these series of wildfires, and the premiums were shooting up exponentially. So as early as 2020, that's when we started using some of these mitigation efforts. For instance, co-insurance. We also introduced 2 years ago the idea of a wildfire catastrophe bonds, with the idea being that those things would be used to replace the most expensive parts of the commercial insurance layer. So if we found a better deal with a wildfire cat bond and we could attach it at a certain layer, then we probably didn't need that particular layer of the commercial insurance, and we were either able to reduce the commercial insurance amount or increase our self-insurance portion.
Understood. So it's a balancing act that we do every year, knowing that if this trend continues, we're going to get less and less from our commercial coverage.
We've certainly done it the last 3 years, because prior to 2020, the costs were going up, but they were controllable for us because we weren't out there causing a bunch of wildfires. But then it got to the point where the industry as a whole was like, well, it doesn't really matter who's causing the fires. We need to find a way to level this out and apply it across the board. And that's when we really started to be affected by those price increases.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Can I have a motion to approve item 11?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner NURIT KATZ,
Aye.
President Richard KATZ,
Aye.
Vice President McGraw,
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder,
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
All right. And that brings us to our final item today, which is a motion from our committee, the Ad Hoc Committee on Biodiversity, Access to Nature, and Nature-Based Solutions, And I know we had a public comment. If they have stuck it out for this marathon meeting, they would be welcome to give public comment. Otherwise, we'll give some remarks. It was a long meeting. Hi, come on up. Still here. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, President KATZ and commissioners, and congratulations, President KATZ. My name is Dr. Catherine Pease. I'm the Director of Science and Policy at Heal the Bay. I'm also a member of the LA City Biodiversity Expert Council, and today I'm speaking on behalf of Heal the Bay, NRDC, and LA Waterkeeper. And I'm here to support this motion before you today, which seeks to institutionalize and integrate biodiversity, habitat enhancement, and nature-based solutions throughout LADWP operations and management. Given the climate and biodiversity crises we are faced with, it is absolutely imperative to utilize all the tools we have in our toolboxes in a holistic manner. Solutions must be multi-benefit. Solving for one problem at a time is simply no longer an option. As LADWP works to achieve 70% local water by 2035, nature-based solutions must be prioritized to truly achieve those multi-benefits of reduced urban heat islands, improved water quality, increased biodiversity, healthy soil and carbon sequestration, and healthy communities. We applaud LADWP for taking this step to be a leader in Los Angeles and help achieve the goal in LA's Green New Deal of no net loss of native biodiversity by 2035. We appreciate and support the provisions on equity and the commitment to engage with Native American tribes. As next steps from this motion unfold, we encourage setting specific timelines to develop metrics for success and clear and specific pathways for integration of biodiversity, access to nature, and nature-based solutions into LADWP's operations, management, and capital and infrastructure planning. For instance, we recommend that the consideration and prioritization of biodiversity and nature-based solutions be institutionalized into both regional and municipal safe clean water projects put forth by LADWP. Again, I reiterate our support, and I also want to offer any assistance and collaboration with Heal the Bay, NRDC, and LA Waterkeeper, and to utilize our expertise on stormwater capture, nature-based solutions, and biodiversity. And thank you to Councilmember KATZ for your leadership on this, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your comment, particularly since it was such a lengthy meeting today. Thank you for taking the time. So this motion is a lengthy one, and it has already been a long board meeting. So I will spare you all, and I will not read the motion in full. But I did want to take a moment to honor its importance. And I also wanted to express my gratitude to Commissioner Mia LEHRER. Unfortunately, she had to leave. But I really want to acknowledge her contributions to the development of this motion as part of our ad hoc committee on biodiversity, access to nature, and nature-based solutions. I recently participated in a wonderful Girls in STEM event at the Natural History Museum and saw in person there just how impactful the beautiful native plant garden, which was designed by Commissioner LEHRER, was as a learning space for youth who participated in the day. And it was a perfect example of the importance of access to nature. As we read in the e-comments and also heard in public comment, this is an issue that's important to many Angelenos. Too many communities lack access to green space and are facing disproportionate impacts of extreme heat as climate change worsens. As the steward for over 300,000 acres of land, LADWP has a responsibility to ensure that with our practices, we honor and learn from the original caretakers of that land and responsibly steward our watersheds for future generations. As the motion leads with, two major scientific bodies, global bodies, the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPBES, and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, have identified that the twin crises of climate change and biodiversity loss increasingly threaten nature, human lives, livelihood, and well-being around the world. And neither will be successfully resolved unless both are tackled together. IPBES assessment clearly demonstrates that the loss of biodiversity is not only an environmental issue, but an economic, development, social, security, moral, and ethical issue. And with that understanding, we bring forward this motion to build on LADWP's efforts in biodiversity and nature-based solutions and to fully integrate them to ensure that we lead in this critical area moving forward throughout our operations. So with that, I would be happy to take any questions or comments, or we can call the vote. Questions, comments from fellow commissioners?
Call the vote, please.
Okay.
We're very grateful.
All right. Then can I have a motion to approve item 15?
Move it.
Seconded.
Great. Commissioner NURIT KATZ?
Aye.
President Richard KATZ?
Aye.
Vice President McGraw?
Aye.
Commissioner Pinder?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
All right, and I believe with that, we will move into closed session
And before we do, whatever is in the water, I don't want to drink any if it's going to make me talk like
we definitely appreciate, though, Commissioner or Vice President McGraw's detailed and thorough examination of our board materials, even though it has been a long one. Thank you.
Who knows? I got you.
Julie, I think you have something you need to say before we close to closed session.
The board shall recess into closed session to discuss the items listed on item Q of the agenda. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with section 54957.1 of the California Government Code.
Thank you.